perfection, ain't no half-stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem, we mob it. Who got it? Who want it? No problem, we mob it. Raised in the belly of the beast. There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition, living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing everything you dreamed of. Only aim for perfection, ain't no half-stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem, we mob it. In the city, plenty havoc causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing reds, you know they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life? Word like me, had them stripes. Would you go hard just to have that ice? Lot of dudes still trying to have that price. In a yo cooking about to add that spice. Nowadays Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up. You witnessing a champ in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness. Yeah, but adversity and bad situations meet us in the middle of the paths that we taking. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit or will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when this life asks for the fade? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when a punch lands and it puts you flat on your face? After you wake, will you stand up and say, get mad, hit back, lit match to the flames? Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up.
Icy boy with diamonds on my frozen soul.
take you back. Spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Raising the belly of the beast. There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition. Living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing everything you dreamed of. Only aim for perfection, ain't no half stepping. I'm about to take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mobbing in the city, plenty havoc causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing reds, you know they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life? Work like me, had them stripes. Would you go hard just to have that ice? Lot of dudes fail trying to have that price. Either yo cooking about to add that spice. Nowadays, you never had that fight. When the first boom, better burst your
بالفعل وبالمخطوط العراق موجود معانا ليخلص بالفعل تواجد ايسبورت مع
تكسر الوضع تاع اوبا حاليا على خرج لوحده بالصلاه وضع
هذا الليد لم يكن في مكان مناسب. سيكتور يا سيكتور يا سيكتور يا سيكتور.
Hey everyone, we are back with day number 2 of the PMPL Arabia Fall Split of 2022. My name is Monica. I am joined here by Imperium. So we are going to be seeing Highland Wolf a little bit later in the week, but we'll be taking some turns casting for you guys to bring you all the action for here in this split and seeing who will be the champions of this region. So here it is, Imperium, tell us. Yesterday, so much action. I'm really excited to see the rest of it today.
Yeah, it was a good start in yesterday's games. Of course, with it being the first day of PMPL full split, it's a really big open door of between teams coming back from their spring split. A couple of kind of new rosters with the shifts that have come through, a couple of acquisitions, right? And I personally wasn't disappointed. We had the usual up and towards the top of the standings with NIGMA Galaxy topping it. But I also was happy with some new teams who really kind of showed up and showed strong and at least gave us a bit to look forward to coming into today's games.
I have been reading everything on the socials that you guys have been saying about your teams. I love seeing all the support, especially in YouTube chat and everything. So you guys spamming the names of the teams that you guys support, and follow us on Facebook, see us on TikTok and on Nemo as well with the hashtag PMPL Arabia. Let us know who is your favorite team. Who do you think is going to win this region and be the best of Arabia? We also would like to tell you guys this show is brought to you by Monster Energy, our official energy drink partner. I don't know if you drink any Monster Imperium, but I am obsessed with the Ultra flavor, Ultra kind of line. It's all zero sugar. My favorite one is Peachy Keen, and I drink it, on the daily.
To be fair, I think more so Ireland at least has like way less flavors available compared to America. Where you are, America just seems to always have like so many more flavors available. But indeed, I do like a good Monster Energy drink. It helps perk me up a little bit more, especially when I'm getting ready to cast all of this insane action that we're gonna see.
Yeah, we, so much action. I was telling Imperium to save some energy for the later parts of the game because I was watching the matches yesterday. I'm sure you had firsthand as well, and it was just action after action. It was just, unrelenting for all the teams just ganging on each other at the very end.
Yeah, let's have a look at the format because obviously if you're just coming into this and you're not really sure how it works and if this is your first PMPL that you're watching, first of all, thank you for being here. It's great to have new viewers, and anyone who has watched previous PMPLs will be very familiar with the format that we have, right? We start with the league days, Monica. You have the 20 teams, 5 groups. Then you have the top 16 teams across those league days that make it into the Super Weekend, and that's when the important points really need to be picked up.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting because this is probably third year running that we've had this kind of similar format of the weekdays, into the super weekends and such, and it does give a chance for all the teams to try to compete and get those points in the super weekends because we've had the ones in the past where it's it's just all one league sort of thing, and then after a couple of weeks there's the players there's some teams, if they didn't have a great first 2 weeks, there's almost no way for them to really catch up. So this kind of levels the playing ground, gives us more exposure to all of the teams playing, and we have 20 teams, more inclusion, more teams participating in the region.
And getting to the finals is where it really counts, right? You want to be the best of the best, and getting through the Super Weekend, whether it's 1, 2, or all 3 is one thing, but once you do make it into the top 16, that's where it really counts to get through to the finals. And may ask, how do I get into the top 16, Imperium? I don't know. Well, this is the points. This is how this system works. It's very familiar at this stage of the game, Monica.
Yeah, the points. This is probably the third year running. Before, you know, if you guys remember 2019, beginning stages of PUBG Mobile, first place was like a 30 points and then a 22 points after that. And changing it like this, making it so much more, putting so much more emphasis on those elimination points, right? It's 15 points for a chicken dinner, but every elimination is that 1 point. And you see teams that maybe they finished a little bit lower, you know, fourth place or something, but they're really able to rack up those eliminations and beat out some of those more passive teams. Maybe they, you know, kind of rolled into first place, but not a lot of eliminations. It's really, I mean, it's what we love to see, right, Imperium? All the action to get all of that. But all these points, though, we're gonna see how it converts into our prize pool for the tournament.
$150,000 total money available. Each one of the teams across the league stage will guarantee themselves $2,500. And then in the chicken dinner, in the super weekends, it's a total of 45 grand. So that's 45 games, $1,000 per chicken dinner. And then there's a separate prize pool for the final, which is also nice to see.
I mean, that's a lot of cash money, right? That's a lot of money that you can, you know, as an organization, I know there's a lot of organizations in this region that support these teams and try to, you know, give them what they need, the resources, the coaching, everything to make them as good as possible, really using this money to kind of better the team and then also be better in their equipment, what phones that they play on, just everything that revolves around being a pro esports player.
10,000 for first is good in the finals. I'm curious to see who's gonna rock up the most in terms of chicken dinners in the super weekends, right? Because Rico, or now known as R8 in the spring split, they got themselves 8 chicken dinners across the super weekend, so that was automatically 8 grand for themselves. Never mind what they did in the finals. So from a financial point of view, the incentive with it, for me at least, is in those super weekend games, in that winner chicken dinner, 45 grand total. You can grab yourself a good bunch of money from there. You're going places.
Yeah, this was a team that Highland Wolf, you know, he was really telling me this is one of the biggest growth stories for any team R8. And I mean, you say it, we all say it as casters. We love seeing the teams that stay kind of all together and able to grow together versus, and I mean, we do have a big mix of teams as well. It's completely new players, just kind of, you know, this is the first time they've all kind of competing officially, and seeing how they will eventually do.
Moving on over to the calendar, an idea of what dates you need to save in the PMPL Arabia full split. We start, of course, with Super Weekend week number 1, which league play. We're on the 21st of June already, over 6 months into the year. And this is officially the longest day of the year, by the way. So from tomorrow onwards, the days get shorter, you could say. Then week 2, you have week 3, which is definitely a little bit more interesting, Monica, because there's no day break in between the league week and super weekend, so that can put a bit more pressure on teams in kind of preparing for that final super weekend.
Hey, longer days, more time to play PUBG Mobile, am I right? But these players, I mean, if they're not competing here, they're playing scrims, right? It's just never-ending PUBG Mobile.
But isn't the stereotypical thing that, like, most gamers like play at nighttime, so technically having a longer day is worse for gamers, just stereotypically at least?
I had gamers that I managed that they would wake up at, you know, an hour before scrim time, which is probably 6 p.m. or so, play, and then just play all night and go to bed at, you know, like 4 in the morning, something like that. But definitely, you are very, very right, Imperium.
And then, of course, the league finals on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. That's, again, the most important dates, arguably, I could say, because you have a good league week 1, you have a okay super weekend 1, you have a good league week 2, and okay super weekend 2. But if you're not making it into the finals, you're not making it into the finals. And that's where the most important action will be unfolding. Looking at all 20 of these teams, Monica, like, which teams within reason stand out to you?
I mean, I have to go with NIGMA Galaxy. I mean, this is the team that I think, Other regions, when they hear about certain regions, they think of, hey, I think of this team when I think of this region. It's definitely Nigma
Yes,
Galaxy. When you think of Arabia, you think of Nigma Galaxy. They kind of become
pretty
synonymous with
much.
each other. They're just powerhouses. Every single time I see them really knowing how to rotate and really smart and how to do it. I want to see some other teams that, some teams like you said, like R8, like very big growth in the team. You kind of want to root for
Definitely.
a team that started at nothing and is able to become one of those power hitters in the region.
100%, like Nigma Galaxy is the modern day BTR in my opinion,
Yeah.
right? And that's saying that in a really positive way. You go back to 2019 and BTR at the end of the year, right, just stole the show, and I think that's what Nigma Galaxy have done across the last year and a half. And it's not only a testament to their individual growth, but it's a testament of the growth in PMPL Arabia, as well as the whole of the MENA region, tournament after tournament after tournament. All of these teams, all of these players across so many events have just tried to improve, have done their best to learn from every single failure, even every single success. And we are seeing this PMPL Arabia become extremely competitive, extremely close, and all these teams have an opportunity to make a big name for themselves, and yeah, hopefully become the next Nigma Galaxy.
Yeah, they are the number one team in the standings right now. So that
Yeah.
goes to show, first day, 4 matches, they're at 29 eliminations. So a lot of fragging power on that team, having the most frags for any team in this lobby, and then also having the most points. But let's take a look at overalls. Like I kind of spoiled it a little bit, but first place is definitely going to be held by Nigma Galaxy. But let's see where the rest of the teams do fall in the overall.
Indeed, the blueprint of the region is in the top spot. I've been very impressed though with the only one Esports and Rad currently in second and third. Of course, with the only being 4 games, it's a minimal amount to really kind of go on, right? And that can very easily change. And I talked about this with Highland Wolf, where at the early stages of a tournament, the teams that overall might not end up doing that strong, that well, can kind of take advantage of that by coming out of the gates a little bit more heavily swinging. But it certainly makes sense with the only one, because they have a lot of experienced players on their side. N7R, Z8RT, and Problems are all former SWAT 69 players, and they played all the way
Oh
back
yeah.
in the 2020 PUBG Mobile World League, right? So they come with a lot of experience. So you take that experience and you put it into a modern stage with an element of flair on their side, and it kind of makes sense. And it's a little bit similar with Rad. They've kept the majority of the roster in the form of Desha, Delhap, Munir, and Sadat. However, they've added an absolute firecracker of a player in the form of Kato, who in the last split played for Twisted Minds. He's played for Alpha Legends in the past. He's played for Yalla in the past. Kato is an absolute beast when he puts his mind to it. So Rad, at the moment, that roster, it makes sense why they're third.
I'm a little disappointed about GEEKAY Esports. They came in
Okay.
yesterday. They had a chicken dinner. Disappointed in that they had, I watched that first game. Wow, first chicken
Fair.
dinner to start off the entire PMPL Arabia. They got 22 points from that first game, and then after that it was just kind of and then they got 20 points across the next 4 games, right? So they got over half their points in one game, and then just couldn't keep it up for the rest of it. So I had a lot of expectations for GEEKAY after that first match yesterday. I really liked how they landed in Razak, and the circle shifted, but they able to identify, hey, that third shift is probably that hard shift that's going to make us need to rotate. We don't want to commit to the center too early. Waited until that hard
Yeah.
shift, sent it into those kind of trench fields next to Pachinki, and then they just had the center circle for the rest of the game and was able to win it out.
It's safe to say that the top 8 are pretty much safe when we look at a potential cutoff point of between kind of 35 and 42, maybe going a little bit higher. All depends, right? However, the bottom half, or the second page as of right now,
Yes.
from 9th to 16th, it is a little bit more scary for them. 4K, that 30 points in total, that looks okay, especially with a chicken dinner. However, 25 of those points came from that chicken dinner
Yeah.
winning game. So up until that final game, they only had 5 points. Is it good that they got a chicken dinner to end the day? Of course, yeah. Especially because it's going to lead confidently into today's games. But in terms of volatility, it does worry me for 4K.
It puts them in an okay spot going into today, day number 2. Because, or again, this is, you get the points from the first day, the points from the second day of just the league play, and then you'll try to qualify into the super weekend. So the ones that are really on that chopping block, it's going to be Team Falcons, Road to Glory, Curd 12 Esports, and Triple Esports out of the bottom 4. And if you don't make top 16, we're not going to see you this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Triple Esports, they're looking very scary. 9 points in 4 games. That's just shy of 3
Scary
points per game, right? Yeah, it's not good at all. Look, all they can take is 1 or 2 good games. The fact is they haven't showed it so far. We only 4 games played. Well, we'll have to see if that changes across the board. Looking at the schedule though, Monica, it's a slightly different compared to yesterday, simply because of the fact that we had 3 Erangel games yesterday, and it should technically be 3 Miramar games today.
Yes, I believe it should be. Let's see if we can get an updated one. But just to keep it a little bit even, so by the end of today, just having the maps that kind of flip-flop around like that and having different groups, everyone will have the same amount of Miramar and the same amount of Erangel play. So just keep it real even across the board.
Yeah, we're going to be going into game number 1 of the day and day 2 of PMPL Arabia. And indeed, we do start with Miramar. So that schedule graphic, unfortunately, slightly wrong. Apologies about that. Indeed, it's going to be Miramar, Erangel, Miramar, Erangel, Miramar.
Yes, so start things off nice and dry in Miramar. We have a pretty, I'd say pretty casual plane path going through almost the center, just a little bit southern. I know yesterday we had some very far kind of southwestern plane paths that really forced some of these teams to really need a long jump. And we saw it where I believe it was Falcons and SKYROCKET actually landed on top of each other in just this little warehouse compound. And we saw a lot of fights and a lot of mistakes happen right off the bat.
Of course, with it being day 1, game 1, should I say, we have groups A, B, C, and D participating in this first game. So we are not seeing Falcons, the only one, VISTA Gaming, and YALLA Esports participate. So all 4 of the bottom teams are playing in this game 1. So it's important that they look to try and, as much as possible, take full advantage of it. With phase 1 kind of shifting up towards the northwest, we saw a similar phase 1 circle in another Miramar game yesterday, so I'm curious to see if any of the teams are going to somewhat learn from it.
Yeah, somewhat learn from it. We do have Pride, who, you know, needs to get a little bit higher, but I mean, they're landing over here. They've got another team pretty close to them. It's going to be at 90th, actually, Esports, and that's going to be, I mean, one of those teams kind of right on the bottom. So, I mean, we'll hope he can get out of here, and we'll hope that they can, you know, keep all 4 up, because that's what's going to set you up for the most success, right? Having all 4 players, bring them into the end game, and having all that gunning power for the very, very end.
One thing that impressed me with Major Pride yesterday is that they were one of the more aggressive teams in the first couple of games, and with this being their first time in PMPL Arabia, I think it was really positive that they kind of came in with their chest up, with, you know, puffed out, kind of going, look, we're not going to let ourselves get pushed around. We're going to be the ones pushing you guys around. We're going to be the ones kind of dictating the pace. And yeah, they didn't get themselves a chicken dinner, but currently find themselves in 4th place, very comfortable coming into Super Weekend number 1. They're on the right path, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have GEEKAY. What was the little bit that you and Highland were saying yesterday? It was like GEEKAY or GEEKAY. What was that again?
he was kind of calling them GEEKAY, and I was like, I think it's GEEKAY. Now I haven't been able to confirm just yet. However, to me, like, GEEKAY, I know it just seems more fitting. I don't know.
Maybe You say one way, I say another way, and then one of us will
No,
be
but
right
that's gonna
until we
but that's gonna confuse like me, and it's gonna confuse the audience.
You'll be like, which 21st team is that you're talking about over there?
Yeah, it's like there's like 17 teams playing. You've got a GK and a GK.
We'll just decide to mispronounce or not mispronounce, but differently pronounce every single team and just confuse everyone, including ourselves.
So how would you mispronunciate POWR Esports?
POWR. I mean, like POWR.
Okay, so you just put that little POWR.
POWR. Yes, that's gonna be our little
Jesus.
nickname for them.
Fair enough. I honestly, I kind of can't really argue with it. Twisted Minds, they're a little bit of an adjusted roster compared to PMPL Spring Split, and I would argue a little bit of a, with all due respect, a little bit of a downgrade. They lost Rokus and Kato from the Spring Split. Kato, like I said, has a wealth of experience and is a very dangerous player. And Rokus, he's a constantly growing player. He comes with a good bit of experience, and he was in the IGL role for the first time back when he played PMPL Arabia, or at least for the second time, and I think he really grew into that role quite nicely. Whereas this split around, they have, of course, they've kept Vigors and Dami. Fun fact about them, Monica, and I'm saying this to you, they're actually twin brothers in real life, and they brought on Ragnarok for NASR and Anas and Fidan, who have played in the last PMGC for. All right, so like when I say it's a bit of a downgrade, I don't mean like in a bad way to the players that they brought on. Just in terms of Twisted Minds, I think impresses in a lot of positive ways in this spring split, and I think it's important that this Twisted Minds roster, whether it's today, tomorrow, first Super Weekend, second Super Weekend, kind of live up to that same expectation, if anything, kind of surpass it.
There always seems to be twin brothers in every single region in at least one of the teams, because you mentioned Damian Vigor is correct from Twisted Minds,
Yes.
and then I just did West EU earlier this year, and we had two also twin brothers that were on the same team, and then we have the obviously very infamous Luxy Zuxy from BTR. So yeah, who are they? Tell me a little bit more about them. But no, I mean, we want to see that. I mean, you'd think they have that twin telepathy, right? And they're able to kind of know exactly what the other person's going to be doing, and just having that kind of synergy of obviously growing up and being brothers.
Yeah, it is interesting that there has been a little bit of a kind of consistent twin brothers duo in the PUBG Mobile competitive scene. Either way, as this game goes on, teams are starting to rock their way into the circle. OOREDOO Thunder is dropping around the western side of Los Leones, and they're going to have an easy and quick enough entry point into the edge of this circle, as it does kind of sprawl around Picado in the southeast tail end area of the map. Cur12 had a challenging start to this tournament, playing in from Valdemar, swinging up that western road line into a good position on circle. They're going to take a very deep position, and they're going to catch a Twisted Minds for it.
Oh, I was going to say this is a great start for K12 because they definitely need the points, but I mean, you can't get knocked when you're alone like that, and they're able to catch Twisted Minds off of rotation for sure, landing very close to each other. Twist, I believe, in Monte Nuevo, and then K12, like you said, Valdemar just coming up north and finding each other on either side of this road. But right now, it's just casualties on either side at only the 8-minute mark within the game.
Interesting that Cur12 haven't really looked to be more aggressive on this push. They know that they got 2 knocks, and although they've confirmed a player down against them, you gotta know that you have that body advantage, and that in turn can be a big difference maker. Vigors is doing a lot of work in that backline to support his team, and yeah, I would say this is a little bit too passive from Cur12, and they're allowing Twisted Minds to get back up as a full squad.
Oh, we saw the headshot come out on M24. We're for sure going to see that on the highlights later after this match. But Twist, they do finally lose one. So right now, I believe we are 3 versus 3 if Curd 12 can get their third player up. But I don't know, both these teams just kind of playing mind games with each other and not a whole lot to show from it.
Curd 12, they did recently win the Snapdragon Pro Series by PMCO and booked themselves a spot in the PMNC later on in the year. And it does go to show how much that there is a bit of a skill difference in between kind of the tournaments that are preparing teams to get into competitive level and the competitive level tournaments such as the PMPL, because they look so much different in that series, in that tournament, just simply because the skill level around them wasn't as high. And in the PMPL, where you're more heavily punished, they have struggled in day one so far.
Well, there's a difference between playing the kind of more community events, right? And you're more, are you actually doing something right, or are you just capitalizing off the mistakes of the other teams in the lobby? Versus once you get here, you can't get away with these kind of, oh, we rotated a little bit, 5 minutes too late, but that's okay because no one else in the lobby really took advantage of that. But here, you can't do that. You need to be rotating on time. You need to be rotating in the right way, so you're not going to be an open target for these teams, and you can't be rotating through teams like K12 rotated through Twisted Minds.
And the engagement lasted quite a while, and it's K12 with just one player left up, Mohammed. At least an elimination point in their back pocket, but it's going to be so much harder for them. Phase 2 popped up and is centralized quite nicely in around El Pozo Crater Fields area, and R8 have a player down going up against the almighty 4K.
R8 though, again, one of those teams that we want to see them do better. They're kind of middle of the pack right now on the leaderboards. 4K kind of similarly too, but there's going to have a little bit of high upper ground. This is hugging the blue zone, so they're not really playing for position here. They're playing for, I don't really know what they're doing here. They're just kind of dwindling damage, taking the resources away from each other. You see all of these smokes now that are used here. I think 3 of them that they can't be used later on in the game, and they're just holding each other as the blue zone is about to touch them in the back.
Both teams are outside the circle, Monica, so nobody's really winning from this. Yeah, okay, Bandar is rewarded with that patience, but how much is it going to affect the team as they try and make their way into the edge of phase 2, even the edge of phase 3, with how long they're engaging on 4K in this position?
We have R8 though. I mean, this is still the second phase, about to be the third. We get a very nice knock the 3 times on the M4, just popping shots through the open doorway. This is good for R8, I guess. I mean, they're losing all the times. I know, but he just walked through the open door. This is really, really bad for 4K, and they're showing why they, didn't have too many points after that one chicken dinner.
Oh, my lord. He literally just walked into the bullets. Oh, now Golden and Anaconda are 2 players left alive. I can appreciate R8 kind of committing to this. Yeah, you highlighted that they're kind of middle of the pack and maybe expected more from them. I touched upon this with Highland Wolf. I don't want R8 to be at the top of the standings at this stage of the tournament. I want them to be a middle of the pack team more so because I want them to be pushing themselves. I want them to be testing new things in preparation for the final. Because I think that was a bit of a mistake they made in the spring split where they kind of topped out too early per se, and then in the finals they weren't really in the right position or at the right level to really kind of get into the top 3, and they got pushed out by a couple of other teams.
We have the circle. It's kind of up on the northwestern side as 4K is just, for a time to clutch up, it would be now. As we have the circle, about to shift it one more time, but ooh, Golden actually finding a very opportunistic angle from the left-hand side, about to get a secondary knock, and it's going to be the play zone to put him down on his knees. So R8, I think, biting off a little bit more than they can chew. And now in the, in the situation exactly where 4K was at, and they're just losing players out in the blue zone.
Yeah, look, they're committing to. I'm not really going to comment on it too much. Phase 3 indeed did shift on out. It went down to the southwest. Golden is able to try and do something to get a second knock, but he goes down to the blue, and that's the way it goes. Nothing he could really do. Teams that are in this good position of the circle, definitely at the moment RTG. They're in that compound that's to the, and that hill to the west of San Martin. Actually, no, sorry, not RTG. It's this side of POWR. POWR in an absolutely fantastic position. RTG not too bad as well, to be fair to themselves.
90th, 90th, 90th. I mean, they have the really high upper ground here. Pride's still rotating on past them. We see now as we get into kind of mid-stage game, about the 14-minute mark, where the teams are really starting to blow up into fights. Everyone trying to, you know, converse into the circle. As we see, another R8 member is lost here out on the other side of the map. So, I mean, I had high hopes for R8, but this is definitely not the start that they want to day number 2 of PMPL Arabia.
Brad, moving into the northern edge of the circle, you do have OOREDOO Thunder in around these two teams, by the way. So they're kind of pinched and they're afraid to kind of move too much. They hear a lot of bullets, but they're not really in a position where they're able to take full advantage of it. 90th minute in their own right. The spread might be heavy, but they're making those shots count, and they're able to pick up a knock into one of the major Pride players.
Major Pride there. I mean, it's very hard to finish a team like in this general area, right? Like you can get a knock, long range distant knock, but you know, as I say that, we have OOREDOO Thunders coming up on the back, but you know, they're both kind of ganging up onto Major Pride here. We have now NASR actually joining it on the action. So basically everyone is just kind of farming down on the 90th minute, and then now OOREDOO Thunders is, I mean, this is just 4 different teams all on top of each other in the southern side of the circle.
I really appreciate them from OOREDOO Thunders, because I think they were doing a great job of kind of tracking the elimination feed and really listening out for the audio cues and how that correlated to the elimination feed, right? Because they moved and pushed as soon as that second knock came through onto the major Pride player, and you can connect those dots if you are on point enough. And the fact that OOREDOO Thunders hadn't moved meant they had time and a little bit more freedom to track that elimination feed. They're still not in the most comfortable position though, because even another team is swinging through on that south side. That's Triple D.
Yeah, they have this circle though. It does come back over to the power grid area. So GEEKAY, the ones that, you know, we're wondering about how to pronounce their name, but you know, they land over into Picado. They just came up into the power grid. They haven't really seen anybody yet this match. And this is exactly what they did in the first game of Erangel yesterday, right? They just kind of stayed, you know, stayed their lane, stayed all 4 alive, and kept it all, you know, as many as possible into the late game. And I think they're really setting themselves up right now for at least a top 5 finish, if not winning the match. I'm going to preemptively kind of call it right here, but you know, I'm really kind of hoping for them. Saw some great stuff from them yesterday.
NASR have the southeastern edge of the circle pretty much locked down. A massive spread on the big sprawling hills of Picado power grid to the more western side, and that in itself gives a lot of area control for the likes of GEEKAY, possibly 90th minute K12 solo player Mohammed pushing in. Rad have a bit of a distance to go to make it into the northern edge of the circle. Like I said, very comfortable in the overall standings and qualified for this first super weekend, so they won't be under too much pressure across today's game. So it does give them the opportunity to try some new strats.
Yeah, definitely Rad sitting so comfortable because they are number 4 on the overall standing before this match versus a team like SKYROCKET that is shooting at them. They're right on that 16th position. All eyes are on them to try to, you know, from all the teams below them, trying to jump up over them into the standings. But Rad, they are able to find a little bit of a dip just on the side of the road, just on the outside of the circle. So they're still going to need to move once again very soon.
Our esports are just waiting on that northern edge of the circle to gatekeep the likes of Rad, possibly SKYROCKET, even to an extent RTG, depending on how they play it through NIGMA Galaxy. Not really finding an entry point as of right now. That takes a ton of damage, down to half health, and is forced to scale back down.
And this is SKYROCKET's coming up even closer to Rad. So one of these two teams is going to have to win this fight, because this is almost impossible just to disengage, get in your cars, and drive away, as a Wanted does get knocked on the other side of this hill. So the advantage is to Rad, but they can't forget they have so many teams on their opposite side. A grenade about to blow right on the side of Satad, and he is going to be able to avoid it. They're going to still be left alive as SKYROCKET do lose 1.
Big mistake I think Rad are making is the fact that they've gone for the revive. They were somewhat lucky to get the first knock onto the side of SKYROCKET. The dip that they're in, although it's a little bit bigger than most dips, it still is at risk of those nade plays, right? It's still at risk of getting absolutely swarmed by a mini red zone. SKYROCKETs have opted to kind of not push in on that off the back of the knock that they made, and they've been a little bit distracted by another team around them.
Yeah, definitely distracted. And Rad, I'm a little scared for them because clumping up all together, like, this is exactly what 4K did yesterday, that they were just on the bombardment of all the grenades. Like you said, mini red zone. Now the blue zone is taking the priority. Now it's going to be in their best interest to divert away from here. R8, though, unable to make it past the 14th position mark in this match, as everyone else trying to focus up, trying to get in the circle, as POWR now has Rad knocking on their back door.
Next circle shifts over to the east. That's absolutely fantastic for NASR as well as CONQUEROR. Miramar is CONQUEROR's strongest map, in my opinion, of PUBG Mobile, and the push now comes through from Rad onto the side of POWR.
Ooh. Conti, though, just in the distance, though, getting knocked down. My team's outside. Looks like GEEKAY now finally making their presence known and taking a couple pop shots from the safety of Power Grid. I believe they have lost one so far this match, as Rad does find heavy casualties. It's going to be only set at 9 left on his feet. Actually, on his belly.
I don't really get how POWR lost 2 players and how they weren't really more aggressive. They had the kind of edge of circle control, and Rad, although they've gone out, did do a lot of damage in the process. SKYROCKET Esports, they're eliminated as well, and CONQUEROR have kind of spread 2 players onto this northern edge of the circle in the form of Riva and Caliga. So Rio Grozer supporting them from that northeastern side gives great ability for CONQUEROR to set up for some late game control.
Great control indeed, and someone who did not have control was POWR, as we said, or POWR as I like to call them. They, losing 2 was debilitating for them at the 20-minute mark, where they should have had all 4 going up. They could have kept all the teams from getting on in. Now they turn their sights onto RTG with the vehicle explosion, putting RTG down to, I believe, only 1 left alive.
2 players left alive, J9 and Unknown. An unknown entity on the high side of the hill. He is ahead of the 2 POWR Esports players. Again, CONQUEROR are hanging around the area so they couldn't get involved, and I think that has been the case. Now it's Ragnar from GEEKAY who's getting the knock into Unknown.
RTG, though. J9 summiting the hill, trying to get up, and that's our second vehicle explosion of the day. It's going to be POWR now out of the match in 9th place, regrouping in the lobby and deciding what went wrong there, because it all kind of fell down like dominoes in the last 5 minutes.
Got 7 teams left and only 2 of them have a full squad. That's NASR on the side of CONQUEROR. Make that 7 teams, as Pride are left with Solo, Sorker 12, and Road to Glory. There's 3 teams with just solo players standing. RTG, they go down.
Oh, my heart hurts when it's 1 person left alive. They have nothing left but just try to run into the circle, and it's just, blue zone is taking them, and whoever's on the edge is taking the shots, and it's just kind of so out of luck there. We do have very few players, actually 12 players left alive. I was told by Highland Wolf this is a hyper-aggressive region, and I'm definitely seeing it here. Conquer. We have Riva keeping his eyesights on to GEEKAY.
GEEKAY, Monica, it's okay. GEEKAY, Monica, it's okay. I'll let you away with it. Or are you actually going for that where you're going to say GEEKAY and I'll say
I was thinking
GEEKAY?
I was like, best not to confuse everyone.
Fair enough. Either way, he's doing a great job of suppressing them. The blue zone is going to start closing in the next 20 seconds. The circle is shifted down southeast. Once again, great for NASR Esports, who are still up as a full squad. By the way, Tits and Minds have 2 players left. The final player, K12, all credit to him. He stayed alive and got his team into the top 5.
Who was it? Didn't you have a nickname for a team? You called them like the cockroaches of, I believe it was North America. They were always able to just it was like 1 player always able to just get into top 5 by the skin of his teeth. But it's going to be Conquer this time to put an end to GEEKAY. Only 1 player left up, and he's running for his life.
Mohammed's still alive. He hasn't really moved. The muscle hasn't really played a beat. He does actually finish off Ragnar to give himself an elimination point. CONQUEROR Viva turns his attention towards NASR, still up as a full squad. This mind, the 1 player went down, but if the revive can come through, they should be able to stay up as a duo. As down goes Kerr 12. Valiant effort, gets a top 4 for himself.
Really able to sniff out that last player, NASR. They really kept all 4 players left alive. Had the one kind of overextend out in the open, hoping he could use while everyone was focusing on K12. He could just slip by that car, but it wasn't going to happen. They spotted him out in the corner of his eye, and now they have to play, a little bit more defensively, throw out, waste actually those smokes that they should be using as cover for the end game to try to revive this player. I think the smoke is just not quite close enough, and they're going to have to really, Houdini themselves over by their last player.
What was important for CONQUEROR is that they got the knock onto one of the NASR players, so it technically makes it a 3v3. The confirmation hasn't come through, but NASR are scrambling to try and get the revive, which I arguably think is a bad idea, and it's only given CONQUEROR information on where those players are.
Oh, yeah, just, putting one player, sending them to go for the revive now puts you at basically only have 2 shooters to put on the defense, try to stop Conqueror, and it's not going to happen here because they creeped up right on close to them. But you cannot forget the one solo player always can spoil the fight either direction depending on who he might find. That's going to be Twisted Minds. Let's see how they may play in this 3v3 to end the match.
Mam's been able to pull up a first aid up to 75% health. An offensive smoke comes out from Groza, looking to punch the air and get the drop onto the player of NASR. That's Humam down. Great play by Groza.
I mean, it was unfortunate for NASR because he was just laying prone, couldn't look any higher, and just took it, right? That he didn't even put up a fight. Let Conquer just run over the crest of the hill, take the airdrop, actually, and loot up all of the boxes on the other side of this rock. So Groza, just 7, actually, eliminations from Riva, but they are racking up the eliminations in this match. They're going to be having hell of a lot of points at the end of this.
Riva trying to hold on. Dami throws out a nade, and that's gonna put a little bit of jitters on Riva. He stays inside the buggy to try and disengage away down to half health. They got to be careful. They're technically pinched, and Dami gets caught out. Nice play by CONQUEROR. That's some good communication.
I think just kind of unaware of some angles, thinking they, are invisible when they are actually very quite visible and getting spotted out. But we are down to our top 2. If Conqueror can get the revive up here, they're going to have the man advantage, the 3 versus 2. But I like the different angles that NASR has. And I think Alzi over there, they don't really know exactly where he is. Maybe all their attention is on Miracle making a lot of noise. And then they might be able to give him the slip.
Riva needs to do everything that he can to shut down and slow down NASR, because with 2 players inside that dip, they're somewhat pinched at the moment, right? Humam for NASR was in that same position a couple of minutes ago, and he got blown to smithereens. Ali's going to turn around. He's going to try and go for the shots to not come through. It's going to be against Miracle. Ali's left on his own, and that's going to be the final blow, and that's going to be the chicken dinner for Conquer Iraq.
Conquer Iraq, I think they had quite an okay game or okay day yesterday, ending the day in 8th position, but really starting day 2 strong with the chicken dinner. And this is going to put them, this is only 4 matches. This is the 5th match. So this is going to really skyrocket them in the standings. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of in the top, top 3 or so of the stands. But we shall definitely see once we have this, the overall scores that we can see. But I mean, Arabia is such an aggressive region, and I'm so excited to see it all come out and starting in Miramar.
There's something about Miramar and CONQUEROR, genuinely, and I mentioned this with Highland Wolf yesterday. The first time I really kind of took notice of CONQUEROR back in the spring, so it was when they played in Miramar. They just seem to be able to control the map so much better than Sanhok and Erangel, and I would, as much as that's a positive, I kind of overarchingly want to say that it's a little bit of a negative in terms of you want to get to the same standard in Erangel as they are in Miramar. But for now, I can't help but just highlight how clean cut they are in that map. It's like they're the Miramar Whispers. In that sense, they had every angle covered. They had good spreads. They had good control. They knew pretty much exactly where they needed to be. Bar losing that one player, it was still business as usual for that late stages of the game. So clean from CONQUEROR.
Well, we do have 3 Miramars today versus the 2 Erangels, so maybe they're going to end up doing even better than yesterday where we only had 2 Miramars. You have some teams that are just really comfortable, really in their zone on certain maps, and when we get to play more of those maps, they can really put up those numbers. So CONQUEROR,
Yeah.
great start to day number 2. You'll love to see it coming all the way from Generis Mirales all the way, or Minas Generales, all the way over to this ending zone, kind of to the northeast of El Pozo.
It's funny that you should mention that about going from one location to the other. The two teams that were initially engaging on each other on the very western side of the map actually survived to make it into the third and fourth spot of the game. That was Twisted Minds, and Cur12 was arguably more impressive, was the final player of Cur12. I don't know how he snaked it through all of the madness around Power Grid, all the madness around that North Picado Hill, but by God, he pulled it out in all of the right ways. And yeah, fourth place for his team, 8 points. That was so positive.
So positive indeed, and I can't wait to see it in the next match. Before we can get into it, let's take a look at some highlights from this one. But what you said, actually, before you said, let me touch one thing. So you said K12 and Twisted Minds, they had like 1 or 2 left alive, correct? Sometimes teams that lose their players early sometimes have a little bit more survivability in those solos into the end, because they're probably laying prone in a bush. They're probably laying behind, sitting in a corner in a building or something like that, right? They're not like a 4-man team standing up, making a lot of noise, taking a lot of shots, and just garnering all the attention of everyone in the area. So as a solo, sometimes they can just kind of slip in.
And it's a genuinely positive element or skill to have. It really is, to be fair. You can't rely on it. You shouldn't rely on it, but it's certainly a positive backup skill to have on your team.
For sure. So I think we're ready for the highlights now. So let's take a look at all the action from this first Miramar match. That was quite the action in Miramar. I love seeing the highlights where you might be able to see a different perspective, right? A different spectator on some other players. Definitely. And you're able to see a fight kind of play out from a different angle.
The one movement that was so like perfect for me, and I think it was Riva, as far as I know, when he threw that offensive smoke onto where Human from NASR Esports was in that dip, and then pushed that. It was just so simple, but it's a massive part of why offensive smokes and those little things can make a massive difference as you look at the match standings of that game one. Like I said, it was just clean cut from CONQUEROR and rewarded with 28 points.
Oh, 28 points. And I said at the beginning, the elimination points, especially with this point structure, becomes so much more important. So CONQUEROR just stepping up their aggression level, able to get, I think, 5 more eliminations than the next highest team, which was Twisted Minds, and able to get 28 total points in this match, and just really doing good for themselves.
Great for NASR Esports. They were coming into this game in 15th place on just 22 points, so getting 17 will put them a lot more comfortably towards that kind of cutoff point and into the first super weekend. Very similar for Cur12, however, they were looking a lot more dangerous than NASR Esports, down in 19th place and only 12 points. So in this one game alone, Cur12 have over doubled their total points. They still have more to do, because no doubt about it, other teams who were around them coming into today's games will probably step up in a bigger way. However, for their own confidence, although it's not ideal, getting those 11 points will be a big positive.
Yeah, definitely put them probably just above the chopping block. But I mean, we see Curd 12, we see Road to Glory, and I think Team Falcons though. I think they're are or sorry, they're not quite in yet, but definitely changing things up a little bit. But this is going to be they only have 4 chances today to try to get some more points because they're playing 4 out of the 5 matches, and this is decent, but they definitely need a lot more to kind of feel a little bit more secure in the overall.
Moving on to the second page of the match rankings for this first game of the day, Triple Esports. I'm not really going to mention them much more today because until they produce something, they shouldn't be considered. At the moment, they're in 20th place on a total of 9 points. 0 points from that game. They're now 5 games played and they're still only on 9 points. That's less than 2 points per game, Monica. And that speaks for itself. That's it. That's the sentence. That's the message. I hope that Triple Esports can produce better, but I just, that's it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Triple Esports, that's one of the teams at the very, very bottom, and they got 0 points this match, so definitely is going to hurt them for sure. But we do have the rest of the schedule for today, so we are moving on into Erangel next, and then flipping back and forth. So overall, we will have 3 Miramar and 2 Erangel.
Yeah, indeed. The schedule graphic is right. All is balanced in the world as we get ready for, of course, game number 2 today. Moving on over to Erangel. I hope that the teams who didn't do the best yesterday, we are going to have, of course, a new set of teams playing in this game. I just hope that there's going to be a little bit more, just a slight more of an adaptation from yesterday's games to today's games, and that we see that little bit of a difference between.
Yeah, Erangel, I mean, this is the map that everyone, not just the players, not just us, not just you guys, but just, everybody knows the most, right? This is the first map that came out in PUBG Mobile, and this is the one that I think most people find it the most competitive, right? It's just like it's not so crazy as, Sandhawk, just crazy small map and just a ton of action. Miramar, where it can get a little treacherous with all the hills and everything, but Erangel, I think everyone really, really loves this map.
It is PUBG Mobile, just as is the Grizzly set that you can get your hands on in game. All you have to do is log in on game and collect all the Grizzly Bear card collections. You can get yourself a wonderful US skin, a helmet skin, and that all beautiful kind of full bear skin suit. Would you wear that, Monica?
I definitely would. I know there's players that, they just collect every single outfit, and you see ones that are just completely stacked in the outfits, the skins, and it's like, well, each match you can only play one skin, but it's kind of the bragging power, right? Like, oh, I have, 10 SKS skins. I have, 20 parachutes, stuff like that. So, yeah, I definitely would, and it definitely looks like a very warm outfit.
Exactly. We're going to be getting into game number 2 of the day in the second day of PMPL Arabia. Once again, after today, we are going to have our first Super Weekend team secured. The top 16 teams out of the total 20 will make it into that all-elusive first Super Weekend and give themselves the opportunity to pick up some money for the chicken dinners and, of course, those very, very important points to make it into the finals of PMPL Arabia.
Yeah, we have a far western circle this time, and when we saw here, we're gonna see a little bit of trouble for the teams that like to go Stauber, Yasnaya, Mansion, all the ones that want a long jump. So I'm gonna see if they're gonna have some alternative drop spots, if we're gonna have some other kind of crazy stuff that happens, or like in Miramar yesterday, where some people, they couldn't get all the way to their normal drop spot and they ended up, dropping together in somewhere kind of completely obscure. So let's see if we have any hot drops this match.
Like I mentioned, we have a new set of groups coming into this game number 2. So groups A, B, C, and E. So that means teams from Group D are not participating. That's NASR Esports, Road to Glory, Triple Esports, and Twisted Mind. So 2 of the top 4 teams not playing in the second game of the day. The circle has popped up, Monica. It's a little bit against the playing path, so it is definitely going to be a bit challenging for some of these teams.
Yeah, one team that I did notice yesterday, the 90th minute always has this massive spread, you know, having 3 going out into the quarry/Primorsk area and then 1 just hovering on that bottom military base island. So just kind of really spreading out here. Last time we saw a circle like this, they actually all came up on the western bridge, came all the way up north to Mount Everest, and then trying to come up on the northern side. It didn't really work out well for them because they had to rotate through a lot of teams. So we'll see here. Usually we see NIGMA Galaxy landing in the center in Pachinki, take up onto Potato Hill, but we do see, looks like some of them are starting to get a little bit closer and closer together, as we do actually have VISTA and POWR in the same compound on the edge of GEEKAY.
Split dropping in around the GEEKAY area is always tricky enough, but when another team wants to go there with you, it's even more challenging. The playing path certainly complemented it. However, again, if 2 teams are going for it, you are going to have a riskier chance of isolated 1v1s, unfortunate 2v1s, and yeah, teams can very easily lose a player. So far, it seems like POWR has a bit of an advantage over it, and SKYROCKET, they get a player knocked.
Yeah, on this side of farm, SKYROCKET, definitely not what you want to see coming out from them. This is kind of new for SKYROCKET, right? Usually we see them going up the North Georgia Pole area right next to R8, but this time they're picking the fight with the one and only. But I see each of them had a solo kind of landing right away from them, and now they're all kind of coming on together, easy, a little bit slow to the punch as they're all fighting in this compound.
I like what you did there, by the way.
Yeah.
SKYROCKET's trying to find the space to get the revive off. They chucked out a decent bit of utility, and that's a great observation. As then it connects from Wanted onto N7R. That's a great observation that SKYROCKET in yesterday's games did head toward North George on that looting phase. So you could argue that certainly a little bit of kind of lack of preparation from the only one in terms of not expecting another team to be in that area with them. It's still not easy for SKYROCKET, but certainly easy is making it easier as he gets a second knock onto the one and only.
I mean, this is kind of a classic, just taking a fight just a little bit too early in the match. Everyone's not really looted up. I think I saw some level 1 helmets, probably just a couple of grenades and such. SKYROCKET now forcing the pressure onto this lone member of the one and only behind the corner as he does come out and does get knocked.
Look, the only one are in a much more comfortable position, right, coming into today's games. 49 points in second place. So arguably, much like a couple of other teams, they don't need to worry about doing well in these games. They can kind of afford to take different chances, try different strategies. In this situation, I think it was more the fact that they kind of presumed that all of SKYROCKET Esports are kind of in that compound, and they didn't take into account that there could be another player, SKYROCKET, looting up somewhere else in an off-angle position, and we saw the only one get caught out for it.
I mean, the only one this is their first match today, I believe. So what a way to welcome you to PMPL Day 2 with just losing 3 players right off the bat. It's only going to be Luffy with 4 Ys just hanging out behind this rock, literally stuck between a rock and a hard place.
He hasn't got a helmet, hasn't got a vest, he hasn't got any healing. Look, Luffy, do you watch One Piece?
A couple episodes when it was on like Adult Swim very late at night.
I thought you might be able to make a One Piece reference to Luffy being on his own. Oh well, he's down though. He's down. He's out of here. Down go the only one.
He could hear your joke in his head and was like, like I'm gonna just take myself out of the lobby so I don't need to hear Imperium say this joke.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, the shame, Monica.
I heard your
fine, okay.
I heard your dad joke yesterday that had Highland Wolf moaning and groaning as well. It's all jokes here.
Look, I'm 34 years old now, okay? It was my birthday last week. I have to automatically get in way more of a dad mode position, so expect more. That's all I'll say. As Major Pride are expecting an engagement onto the side of POWR Esports. POWR did disengage away from VISTA, so they separated in their own way. POWR lost a player, all the same, and I'm kind of surprised that that was the case because VISTA looked to be in a little bit more of a pinch. It does seem like yeah, Vista got the drop on, but so did POWR onto one of the Vista players. So it was a trade across the way anyway.
Yeah, rad. This is going to be down into the Novo Crates area, which yesterday I did see them kind of landing out in the Milta area. So I think just seeing this and then knowing that the spot is going to be free, I think they picked a good spot. This is such a concentrated area of loot, lots of level 3, lots of attachments as well. And it's a quick loot, right? It's all on top of the crates. It's within those houses over there. But they're going to have to cross that eastern bridge at some point and hope that there isn't another team set up to potentially gatekeep them.
As far as in a one Erangel game, if I remember, they did drop in Novo. By the way, I think maybe it was a different team. Maybe it was a different team. I'll be honest. I kind of don't quite remember. My old man brain is affecting me this time around. Either way, they would also know that the side of
Dad brain.
OOREDOO Thunders, they drop a military base, so there is automatically a second team in Military Island. So them waiting until phase 2 pops up makes even more sense because you're less likely to engage with the team either in Military Island or on the edge of the mainland.
POWR, though, they're going to be well within the mainland, though, just driving right on through ruins. They're going to be hugging that western side of the circle as you do have OOREDOO Thunders thundering their way into the center as well. I see a lot of these teams, they like to take just slightly off center, right? It's not dead center. As I say that, GEEKAY, they land in Roz. Like, they're just going to be centering up on that school hill, having huge vantage lines of all the way around. And GEEKAY, I do commend them. I usually see them setting up in a way to just get as much information as possible. Circle centers up one more time, and I think they're all preparing for that next hard shift.
The river's still in play, to be fair, Monica, on the southeast shift. Most of the south river is, of course, occupied, so you're going to have Potato Hill, the Yasnaya Fields, the kind of hill to the south of Yasnaya Fields, all possibly controllable. And if you want to kind of go a little bit deeper, the garden compound that's to the east of Rosa could also be very controllable.
As we do have, looks like a K12, Curd 12 rotating up on the northern side. This is going to be over by Yasnaya now. We got FALCONS joining in, and this is one of those teams right on the bottom of the leaderboards as well. And they're going to really, really need to make the most of the next 4 games if they want to qualify for the Super Weekends this weekend.
YALLA, going for that garden compound. I like the fact that Safe is on the hill to the west of it, just to try and scout for any information and teams who are around that Roshawk area. Right now it's GEEKAY. So being in that vehicle allows him to scout and dodge the bullets pretty quickly if they do go in his direction.
All right, GEEKAY just setting up. I like how kind of spread out there. You have one still in Rozak. He's able to keep his eyesight. And this is, if you're playing a split like this, you want to be far enough that you can collect different amounts of information than the rest of your team, but close enough that in a pickle, say a full team, crashed up onto the top of school hill where his teammate is, he's still able to give him some support as the rest of his team does come and kind of cluster up to drive out this kind of invader team. As YALLA, though, all kind of, on the opposite side of that, all 4 of them are within this compound getting the same kind of angles of information.
19th minute, swinging through the south Chinky Hill area. Still 15 teams, 58 players alive. A little bit of a calm before the storm, Monica, right? Phase 2 blue zone just closing its way in. Still quite a number of teams on the edge of the circle.
On the very edge, indeed. It's good for some of these teams that, yesterday I watched, I think it was the first Erangel game yesterday, that everyone in top 4 was outside of the circle at this point in the game. They were not overcommitting to a spot within the circle, allowing the circle to kind of make their next moves before that hard shift in the third, fourth circle, and then they committed to the center and found a good spot. And we do have the fight though. We have Rad finding one player knocked down and needing a pat on the back.
Now, VISTA Gaming dropped into Pachinki in one of these games yesterday, which I found very intriguing.
Yes.
What I find even more intriguing is the fact that they've rotated into Pachinki. Do I like that NIGMA Galaxy are still around the Pachinki area? No, but I like even less the fact that VISTA have looked to rotate through the city. Even if it is clear, it just doesn't make sense as a rotation. At least they're able to catch out one of the NIGMA Galaxy players off guard, and they are put down to 3 players. It's unidealistic in my opinion, because although they got the knock and the elimination, they're just as pinched as NIGMA Galaxy in the city.
So we have Vista. I know they landed in Pachinki yesterday. It was one match, and then the next one they kind of went somewhere else. So they're just constantly keeping NIGMA Galaxy on their feet. And we finally do see this hardship come out, shifting all the way over to the western side. So I mean, GEEKAY, like, you know, like I said, they kind of stayed put. Now they have like the first, you know, pick of the cherries, pick of the litter. They can just move over into Watertown and be right darn in the center of the circle, setting themselves perfectly for this next match.
Yeah, Kidney Island still being in the mix is definitely quite difficult. A good chunk of the circle of this phase 3 is not necessarily unoccupiable, but it comes with a lot of risks. So we're going to see the remaining teams that do not go for that area kind of scrambling for Headshot Hills, edge of Headshot Hills, Watertown, and edge of Ruins to try and find an area of control.
Yeah, OOREDOO Thunders, I know they kind of set themselves up on Potato Hill, had the information here, and it's always the teams that kind of set themselves up to progressively, you know, and it should never be, hey, where are we going to rotate next? It should be, hey, if the circle shifts here, where am I going to rotate 3 circles from now? You know, always thinking very proactively. 4K, you know, they had a great game yesterday. I think the last game of the day, they got a chicken dinner, but just couldn't really stay consistent enough to get a lot of points in all the others. And now we see the fight breaking out between POWR and 4K.
That comes through. POWR, or at least initially be able to take a bit of control of this fight. Can't they? Firing from the side of the building. Golden goes into the shack, but that in turn does hold a lot of risk. Kalhaje gets a knocking down Anaconda, so it's even more pressures for 4K. Nothing really no one that can do than pre-fire on the edge of the US. Daz is going to be put down to half health, and this is 4K doing everything that they can to keep the fight in their way. They were able to get 1 revive off, so they're back up as a 3-person team.
Definitely a very, very kind of awkward building to try to fight behind. You have 2 pressed up right into the sides of the building, throwing all the grenades that they have up on top of the rooftop, trying to get an opportunistic knock to open up this fight. But both teams, they're down to 3, and they have the edge of the Watertown and GEEKAY actually on the other side of the city, looking to maybe third party if this fight continues for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's stalemated a little bit for the time being, and that of course only potentially allows other teams to come in a third party. I'm sure GEEKAY, although they have a 2-2 split, will hear all of the shots that are ringing through the southern edge of Watertown, and of course nobody really from the Headshot Hills are going to be able to get too involved, nor will they realistically want to. So as of right now, like I said, this is somewhat of an isolated fight.
Yeah, some teams, they just need to have that trigger control, right? And that push control as well too. Sometimes it's, you know, in the lower levels you might be able to just, hey, I'm just gonna push every single fight, but sometimes you bite off a little bit more than you can chew, and you actually put yourself in a really tough position. Circle shifts on down to the southern side this time, just the northern side of Watertown. A lot of these teams are gonna have to wide rotate into this new circle.
Laji gets knocked. Nice shots that came out from Onanok. Is it Onanok? No, 1 knock. There you go. 1 knock. He gets 1 knock for his troubles, and the confirmation comes through at the hands of Golden. So that means POWR Esports, although they look a little bit more in control of the engagement early on, 4K have been able to turn it around.
4K just surprises me time and time again. Every time I think they're about to be eliminated from the match, they somehow are able to just play a reverse Uno card and just come out on top. Here we do have the fight finally occurring between VISTA and NIGMA Galaxy. It's going to be VISTA to get the one up on him, but Lord, to clean it up and eliminate VISTA, they say, Pachinki's our home. Get out of here.
Look, VISTA, they were coming into today's games in 14th spot. They can't take these kind of risks. NIGMA can. I might not like that they hung around the Pachinki area, but it is what it is. And now we're down to 11 teams. Curd 12 holding on to the high ground around the Rosshock area. GEEKAY disengaged away and allowed them to somewhat set up a bit of control. YALLA, who were in that garden compound to the east of Rosshock, have tried to find a bit of a spot with them, but they're not looking too hot for the time being.
Yeah, YALLA, this is, welcome here. And they're having a little bit better of a start than, I want to say, it was the only one, because they still have all 4 up. They've kind of bunny hopped on the back of GEEKAY. They used to have this kind of school hill area, and they come up over here. Lots of vantage points to be had here, but it's still not quite within. They still need to rotate into the circle, as they're down to about 2/3 of the teams left in this lobby.
Team Falcons, surprisingly into the bottom 4 after yesterday's 4 games. It needs to be a massive turnaround if they're going to make it into the first Super Weekend, and it can start right here, right now.
What?
It's not really going to be the case. The trade comes through. Sanji was able to get 1 knock, but he was instantly returned, and I suppose credit to Team Falcons. That was the power of rotating and positioning as a full team.
That was just, you sent one out too early. I think maybe scouting, maybe trying to find an entry in, and then just the rest of the team was just a little bit too short behind him, or too far away from behind. So he just kind of threw him to the wolves and sent them all by himself. As we do lose NIGMA Galaxy, that is quite the shock, out in 11th position in Erangel.
K12, they set themselves up not too badly, but Headshot Hills can be so unforgiving, and if you push too early, much like K12 have, you're going to pay the ultimate price. And although Falcons are in the blue, they've been able to single out the players at K12, and they bite the bullet. Powerful is knocked, but K12, they go down first.
Definitely bit the bullet and chipped their teeth, because that was not what they wanted at all. Falcon, though, they're going to have that northeastern side as a circle. Hardship after hardship. I think this is the 3rd consecutive time it's gone into the southwest center, and it's going to be, I believe that's Pride, going to be holding up one of the only compounds left in this circle.
And this is great for Major Pride, though. They have that one compound that not only overlooks the whole of Headshot Hills, but again, has that compound, has the hard cover. They do have R8 to the north of them, and that's going to be quite difficult to contend with, because although R8 are not in the circle, they have that little bit of a ridge side, and they can push onto Major Pride.
This is such a hard circle to try to rotate it. You can see where all these teams are kind of all horizontally next to each other, because whoever goes first is going to garner all the attention of every single other team around them. And this is like flat land, slightly kind of some hills here, but it's really just, I think it's a patience game, and you got to wait and see for the best time. Timing is everything.
You basically don't want to pull off a K12, right? You go too early, you pay the price, you highlight it, and SKYROCKETs do make a bit of a move, and they're huddled together. They need to take advantage of that. They throw the nades in the direction of Team Falcons. DeMar takes a little bit of damage. Bumpa is knocked in his own right, by the way, in another direction from the side of YALLA, and we're going to see trades coming through as R8 gets involved against Major Pride. Team Falcons going to try and disengage, but as they move away from SKYROCKETs, they're walking into the loving arms of 4K on the edge of Watertown. Dari comes in, gets a knock. SKYROCKETs rip goes down to the blue zone, but Easy is still able to move on out, swing around, and down they go at the hands of OOREDOO. Thunder outside of the circle. Down they go.
This is just Falcon and SKYROCKET seeing who can fly higher, and this time Falcon, the last player, is going to be caught out by 4K. Caught in 4K this time. Looks like somehow, again, surprising me time and time again, and still staying all alive with only 3 players, actually 2 players now, and 8 eliminations found already this match.
Nice play by 4K, but the fight ensues between GEEKAY Esports and YALLA. Ragnar's dropped down to his knees. Safe is able to do a lot of work. Bomba needs to try and pull off a first aid. A potential third party from Smoke of OOREDOO Thunder could be the end of YALLA Esports. And all the while, alright, by the way, they got the drop into Major Pride. They said they could make that push successfully, and indeed they do. They have the control, they have the aggression, they have the golden spot to call their own. And as GEEKAY and YALLA continue to fight, Lath is knocked.
GEEKAY, they just do this so well, and being able to keep all players. This is, I think, the second game that they've been in at least the top 5. YALLA fighting a literal uphill battle, trying to fend off by GEEKAY. They have the wrong side of the circle from YALLA and need to overcome to have it. But if they do, they're going to have one of the highest upper grounds in the circle, watching as all the teams on the opposite side are trying to claw their way in literal open ground.
See, YALLA knows they can't push on GEEKAY, right? Because if they step up, the teams that are behind them are going to get the drop on them. So I really feel for YALLA at this stage, but I can also so heavily appreciate the proactivity of GEEKAY, and like you say, kind of continue to be resilient, continue to stay alive as a full squad, and continue to maintain as much control in this circle as possible. So yeah, in the passenger seat of the buggy, he's going to get spotted by Gate. YALLA go down. We're down to 4 teams.
I think those kind of strats worked maybe 2 years ago when no one would ever think you're sitting in the passenger seat of a car, but this stage you can't. Everyone is expecting the unexpected. So GEEKAY now having, looks like R8 that we haven't heard much from them, but still 4 up right now, finally making their presence known, and right up the bat against GEEKAY as we have a solo versus a duo. 90th minute, or triple actually, 90th minute against OT.
No way, no way, Hassan.
No way.
2 years ago it might have worked, but it might be working in 2022. Yes, it does. Hassan through the passenger seat gets a knock. Now just one more player from 90th minute. Sorry, 2 more players alive from 90th minute. What a 9,000 IQ play from the final player of OOREDOO Thunder. He might go down, but certainly he'll go down as a hero. Tam with the nade, Tam with the elimination. 90th minute down to a duo. I was wondering, have R8 left it a little bit too late to push on the GEEKAY? No, they haven't. They pushed with a 3-1 split. Prestige is outside of the circle, but the rest of the team have done so much work to control that northern edge. And as Prestige gets knocked, R8 are still looking in damn fine control as we're left with a 3v2.
That was so surprising. GEEKAY just allowing R8 to crash up onto them while they're fighting against YALLA to take them all out. Now they know the power is in their hands. They have 3 up, and they know they just got a knot on 90th minute. They know it's going to be 1 left alive. Just made eye contact. Got another knock. He's going to be so low health as he comes over the hill and is able to secure the winner chicken dinner. That's going to be R8 Esports with the second winner chicken dinner of match number 2.
Yeah, absolutely great finish across the board. Again, I wondered, were they pushing on GEEKAY a little bit too late when they were engaging against YALLA, because they would have seen from that western compound? But I think that was very much more about reacting, not even reacting in a slow way, but just simply reacting to the circle shift when it moved away from the compound, because I think their idea was, well, look, we still have a full squad up. We can afford to wait a little bit longer. They did, and then they reacted quickly, efficiently, and got the win off the back of it. 25 pretty impressive points from R8 Esports in that game.
I really didn't hear much from R8 for the majority of the match, right? Like, I just kind of, oh, wow, they have all 4 players still left up on that western side. It was really those last probably 7 minutes that they collected the mass majority of their eliminations, right? They kind of third party onto their, little bit pop shots of all the circles around, or the teams around the circle, took out the entirety of GEEKAY, and then took out the, I think 2, maybe 3 players of, 2 players of 90th minute. So really just reserving all their energy and resources and focus to the very, very end, and able to just really close it out.
That's another good result from 4K. Well, sorry, not another good result. A good result finally for 4K Esports, right? 12 points. It was pretty impressive. They got 8 eliminations. They got the better of POWR Esports. They took advantage of kind of SKYROCKET's kind of pushing FALCONS in there direction right, and yeah, they very much deserve those 12 points.
Very much indeed. So let's see the second half of our match rankings for these teams that did play. We got Major Pride just barely kind of in that 9th place position. NIGMA Galaxy, that was quite the shock, but they have put themselves in the position where they're first on the leaderboards. You know, it's kind of, they're playing for, hey, position, like, hey, if Vista keeps landing in Pachinki, we're just going to fight them every single time because we have nothing to lose and we're just fighting for our position, versus Vista that did finish out in 12th position. Maybe a mistake to rotate into Pachinki that late in the game.
Yeah, for sure, and that's why I kind of look at a more heavy mistake from Vista Gaming compared to NIGMA Galaxy. They picked up the same amount of points, and I just don't get why they pushed into the city again. Coming into this game, Vista Gaming were down in 15th on 24 points. RTG behind them with a game in hand, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it just, Vista Gaming just didn't really do anything in that game, and as you get throughout the day, it just means that it's going to be harder to get those points to secure that Super Weekend spot. So Vista Gaming, just make clever decisions, please, because you're a good team with good potential.
They did one thing though. They came to on a buggy, get the jump on one of the players of NIGMA Galaxy. Yeah. So that was the one thing that they did. But let's take a look on the highlights of the match and see what kind of action and relive it. When we do have the highlights though, I'm probably gonna see that clip play again, but let's go and see the highlights now. Back with, after that, nice highlights from match number 2 of Erangel. Soon we'll be moving on into our third match of the day, which will be Miramar. But Imperium, what were some of the really standout moments from that previous game that we just watched?
Core 12, doing good, but then doing bad. And it's kind of like, you know, how, why, who, where, what. Because again, and I said this, and I talked to Jake about this yesterday, Highland Wolf. We are lucky that we get the oversight of where all the teams are, but the teams who are playing in the game don't. But there's fundamentals of how to kind of understand and fundamentals of how to play the game that if you kind of take those on, you're able to kind of do. And when Cur 12 had that position on top of Rosal Kill, they should have had oversight over the other team. So making that push when they did made zero sense in correlation to where they were at that point in the map. So it kind of a little bit confused by that.
I'm always time and time again surprised by 4K. I think I just got it in my head that, you know, after seeing a couple matches of them yesterday, I was like, oh, they put themselves in a dire position and, you know, maybe don't really know. Every single time I see them, oh, they're in some crazy fight and they're still able to survive, or they're in the middle of 4 teams and they're still able to survive. So, I mean, I'm surprised by them, like, in a good way.
Yeah. Look, you know what? Maybe if they drink some Monster Energy, they might be a little bit sharper and more focused, as Monster Energy, the official energy drink sponsor of the PMPL, or it'd be a shout out to them. Again, I know it kind of perks me up in all the right ways when I do take it. And yeah, this time around, they can certainly help some of the other teams pick up their focus, pick up their concentration coming into these games. And yeah, it's certainly something that more teams will unfortunately make, but it's something they can learn from.
Yeah, let's go ahead and see the overall standings, though, and see where these teams do lie. So R8, wonderful. I mean, they won the game. The last one shot them up all the way up in the first. And then GEEKAY, NIGMA, these are all, you know, teams that we're not that surprised to see them at the top.
No, not surprised at all. Like, I said I wanted to see R8 in the middle of the pack, but I also can't help but be pretty impressed that they are in first place in that regard. So fair play to R8. Like I said, the top 8, all pretty comfortable. The only one Esports dropping down, but that's not really a bad thing. CONQUEROR going up to 4th is certainly a positive thing off the back of their chicken dinner. Not really too much to talk about in this first page. Let's head on over to the second page, because I really want to see what teams are looking a little bit less comfortable against. Some teams do have less games played, Monica.
Yes.
VISTA Gaming, they're going to need to take advantage of that game in hand they have over the others.
Yeah, VISTA, I think they can't afford kind of Tokyo drifting into Pachinki anymore today, right? I mean, there's only one more Erangel game, so we'll see. But yeah, definitely these ones, kind of the lower half of this second page, are kind of in the hot seat, right? But let's see the bottom 4, though. Those ones are truly the ones on the chopping block in the hot seat. It's going to be Cur 12, Road to Glory, Team Falcons, and Triple Esports. I think the same 4 from the previous game that are still in the bottom 4.
Yeah, I certainly think there's good scope for those teams for all 3 of those teams, Falcons, Road to Glory, and Cur 12, to make it into the first Super Weekend. Again, the rough cutoff point we're going to be looking at is between 35 and 45. I'm going to give it a safe area of cover between 35 and 45 points. If you take the highest part of that, that's kind of 21 points that those 3 teams need to get. And when you look at kind of Falcons and Road to Glory, they have 3 games to get that. It's definitely possible. Whereas Cur 12, 2 things that they need to worry about. One, they're on their 6th game, right? So they only have 2 more games left. And secondly, they're not playing the final game, Monica. So they're control the destiny of where they finish in the overall standings completely out of their hands.
Yeah, you never want to be like, you always want to be the ones playing the last match, right? Not just kind of waiting on the luck of everyone else. Yeah. But we do want to call out that Oppo Reno series is one of the, bringing this broadcast to you. So upgrade performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G. It is the designated smartphone for PUBG Mobile Middle East and Africa esports in 2022.
Third game of the day, we're going to be halfway through. We're back on over to Miramar, so that means, of course, Monica, we're having different groups come on board. It's going to be groups A, B, D, and E. So groups C are not playing, and as I look over to the master document, because I'm not intelligent enough to have a good memory, it's going to be this side of 4K, CONQUEROR, OOREDOO Thunders, and POWR Esports out of the mix this time around. Certainly a few of those teams are going to be biting their nails and hoping that the teams around them don't do that well.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is an opportunity for all the other teams because Conqueror is not in, right? That's the team that we said had, a lot of success, a lot of luck on Miramar, and they're the ones who won the
Yeah,
first match
that's
of the
true.
day with 13 eliminations. So I think we're gonna see probably a very surprising new winner for this next Miramar match.
That's actually a fair point. The Miramar Whispers, as I'm calling them now, they're not going to be in this third game. So indeed, it will give the opportunity for a few of these teams to take advantage of that per se. Cur 12 need to be one of those teams. Yeah, it's just about kind of creating that little bit of a cushion or as much of a cushion as you can to the teams around you. So that extra game in hand, like I said, for Vista Gaming, right, they've OOREDOO Thunders ahead of them in the overall standing. So when you look at that, this needs to be as much as possible the perfect game from Vista Gaming, right? It needs to be the best executed play that they need to make. And I don't know how much really, because I'm obviously not a comp player. I don't know how much teams are aware of that when they play, because as much as within the kind of 25 to 27 minute time frame that they play a game, they're going to be focused. I wonder how much do they think about certain situations around where they are in the overall standings in the lead up to that game. Will Vista Gaming have looked at that and kind of gone, okay, OOREDOO Thunders aren't playing in this game. We need to take absolutely full advantage of it.
Yeah, they definitely do pay attention to that. And you have some other teams that I know they have, just from managing my own comp team, they have the maps of the different, Erangel, Miramar, Sandhawk, and they have the drop spots of those teams based on the groups as well. So you have some teams that maybe they don't really have a designated drop spot that they go to every single time on the map, but they're always kind of scavenging off the teams that aren't in the lobby. Like, oh, Yasnaya is open, let's go there. Oh, Minas Generalis is open, let's go there, sort of thing. So it's always kind of a wild card, right? If you're teams that are landing nearby there, you're like, oh, the team that usually goes there, like Conqueror, goes to Minas Generalis, usually goes there, but they're not in the lobby. But we should still be careful that somebody else might go there.
Yeah, that's so true, and we do and can see teams. I think OOREDOO Thunders is kind of a little bit of an example. No, sorry, not OOREDOO Thunders. SKYROCKETs are a bit of an example of that from the previous game, right? Where they, in yesterday's game, kind of primarily dropped in North George. In this first game, they dropped down on the coastal line of the mainland, and they kind of called out the only one, right? And yeah, that's something that all of these teams will want to be very much aware of as we do get prepared to get into game number 3 of the day. Back on over to the hollow grounds of Miramar.
Hollow grounds indeed, and we have the very far western, northern, like very vertical. I'm getting my directions all messed up right now, but very vertical western.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty confused, Monica. I'm pretty confused.
Western, eastern, negative, upside down. We're going into Miramar. Where if us pronouncing different team names is not confusing enough, we're just confusing everybody with all the different playing paths that we got going on too.
Most eliminations so far coming out from NIGMA Galaxy players, and when we look at the highest damage of the, I don't know if that's of just Miramar, if it's of the tournament as a whole, we see a few players up in the mix. So definitely individual players stepping up in a good way so far in PMPL Arabia's. That playing path is not too bad for the teams, a little bit to the west, but going from south to north gives a pretty good scope.
See, Falcons, though, I usually see them go Cruz de Valle. It looks like they're coming out a little bit early. I think spreading out on that northern side too. Who else did we have? We had, who is it? Twisted Minds, that I believe is not in this match this time because they went to Monte Nuevo. It's going to be all clear there, so no one heading on there. We got NIGMA Galaxy is going to have free reign of El Pozo, and if the circle closes up once more, I called it, but I was gonna say if it closes up onto El Pozo's side once again, NIGMA Galaxy will probably have another great game. So here, maybe they're able to identify, hey, nobody went to Monte Nuevo because Twisted Minds is not in here. Maybe this would be like a quick rotate down a little bit further south.
Of course, if you are uninformed of it, I'm sure most people are who are watching, the guitar shape that isn't visible at the moment, but basically that line cutoff point that you see right now on that western side, that area of the map is out of bounds anyway, so it kind of good, maybe what, 10-15% of this phase on circle is out of bounds, so it kind of limits it to a bit more of a phase 2 circle compared to a normal phase 1.
This is either bad manners or just saving ammo right off the drop, as Vista has lost a player already this early in the match. That's going to be terrible, because Vista was one of those teams that, what were they, 16th position or something like that, just really just not in any sort of comfortable position to qualify for Super Weekend right now. So this was really a huge loss for them.
Definitely not a good start for them. And even then, they're very heavily split around a more centralized area of the map, right? They have Trofka on the kind of hill to the, well, not even really hill, it's got in between San Martin and Crater Fields. You have Evo Station in between Hacienda and Water Treatment, and you have the third player in between San Martin and Graveyard. They're all individually located. I'm really confused by that drop. I literally don't get it.
I feel like the theme of just PMPL Arabia is just confusion for the casters as we see things that they do that we normally don't see in other regions, but hey, it may work out for them. K12 though, we really want to see a little bit more coming out from them. Remember last match they had quite the difficult time rotating through the Monte Nuevo area with Twisted Minds. Without them though, this time maybe they have a better chance of bringing all 4 up. And remember, they are well within the circle. They're just kind of on that southern side. They can just come up a little bit further north, find a good high upper ground, and then just gatekeep or just, you know, really get all the information in that central circle.
I expect K12 to be minimum top 5, right? Yeah, okay. Having the circle is one thing, but what you do inside that circle is another. And you're dead right. All they need to do is kind of shift up north and isolate the La Drolera Hill, spread out early on in the game, in my opinion, and then kind of react as the circles do across the board and be proactive alongside. As we look at the only one as they loot up Los Leones, they're very close to that western edge of the circle, so they have a short traveling point inside.
Short traveling point indeed. Yeah, if you're dropping in the central position, or if the circle kind of shifts onto you, you definitely want to be a little quick to the rotate and not kind of waste that opportunity versus teams that are, you know, dropped really far out or like to edge a little bit more. They're going to be hugging the edge quite a bit. So if K12 stays in their position, they're going to probably have another team roll through that city eventually. So just come up a little bit more, have a good spot, keep your 4 players up alive. And I think that's something that K12 has definitely struggled with, as we saw in the Miramar game from the first game. I think they ended with 1, 2, 3 players or something right off the start. Or no, it was 1 player. Wasn't it just 1 player left alive after their fight in Twisted Mind?
Yeah, 1 player left.
Oh god.
So, Twisted Minds seem to want to have set 1 player towards Monte Nuevo. For some reason, when the rest of the team are nowhere near, like, and yeah, Rad were there first, and okay, arguably a massive waste of 1 player.
I mean, this was their second lost player in the match. They just, I don't know, it just time and time again, it feels like Vista is just kind of playing a soul squad
Vista,
situation amongst all 4 of them. So it's just kind of like, hey, I'm going to land real close to this team and just get taken out. Hey, I'm just going to rotate by myself to this team. And it seems like they just caught all ties and they're going to play for ourselves. And it's costing them dearly.
It's like they're playing a casual match. Guys, do you not know it's PMPL?
Who can survive the longest as a solo?
Like, it's a team game, guys. It's a team game.
Well, sometimes we see what.
Monica, I'm gonna let you in on a dirty little secret.
Oh God, what?
There's no I in team.
Oh. Wait.
No I in team.
Yeah.
I think that's what Vista Esports need to realize.
I think it's too late for them to realize now. It's like, oh, after we're already halfway through the league play day 2, or just league play in general, for them to realize that now.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I like what Cur 12 are doing. Like I said, occupying Ledgerlera Hills is quite important, and they need to do everything that they can to suppress players and suppress teams. And this is the perfect kind of play. Shutting down players, shutting down teams. This is instantly going to suppress Rat.
Oh my god, look at that headshot. That was, okay, now I have newfound respect for Curd 12, especially for Shido's.
Perfect.
Oh my god, that was such a quick knock.
Yeah. Such a quick knock. When it was me, Maximum, that was doing the recent tournament that they won, and we got to interview Hazem on a number of occasions, and the guy's enthusiasm and energy is extremely high, and if they're able to transfer that energy in the best possible way to the PMPL, I've no doubt about it. Cur 12 will step up across the weeks and will improve and will succeed in a much brighter way, and I think we're already seeing it in this game too. Not trying to get my hopes up too much, but yeah, some really good proactivity from Cur 12.
Cur 12, they told me the nicknames that they had for each of their players. You know what the nickname for Shidos is?
What?
They nicknamed Shidos the Machine Killer, because he's just such a strong fragger. Yeah, they called him Machine Killer,
that's
which
so
is really
cool.
That's really cool. And then they call Mohamed the baby. So I think he's probably the baby of the team or something, or maybe gets picked on by everyone else. But they had some fun ones for all of their players. But look at this consecutive, just hard on the, not hard, I guess central for this circle, but hard on the western side for these teams.
Yeah.
And it cuts off so much more playing field again.
Yeah, it's still relatively around 15% of the circle that's out of bounds, but again, it's really not maybe the shift that a lot of teams would have wanted. It's great for teams that did commit to the western side of the map, such as NIGMA, Galaxy, Cur 12 in their own right, and Major Pride across the board, but because Cur 12 were there first, if it's not on the northern side, it's on the southern side of just Ledgerlera Hills, they are being incredibly strongly defensive.
Defensive indeed. 2 eliminations found so far for Curd 12. Now they have to defend against the likes of Pride coming just on their southern side. Looks like Vista though. Oh my god. Vista just keeps fighting themselves. If it's not, Rad, it's gonna be Pride, and it's just gonna be everyone just getting their bite out of Vista.
It's like they're having an auction on who wants their eliminations. It's I know, man. Look, they're down
Just
to a
passing
duo.
them around.
Yeah, at least they're on the southwestern edge of the circle, so they're kind of out of a lot of team sites, bar Major Pride, I suppose, and maybe NIGMA Galaxy is. Rad's still surviving as a trio. You have a few teams up north, and quite a number of teams still in the blue as well, Monica.
Yeah, we can see those highlighted in blue on the right. Anyway, we can kind of expect that when we see a very far extremity circle and people landing kind of in the opposite direction. Miramar is not a map that you can really easily quickly rotate unless you're already kind of in the center, because you can see here all these hills, all this treacherous terrain is going to slow you down. And I think we've all been there where we've gotten the van stuck between kind of two bumps of the mountain, and you're like, crap, now we're down to one vehicle.
It's happened to me far more than I'd like to admit, and then you're kind of like calling on the teammate to pick you up, and that slows you down even more, and it kind of can frustrate your team, and it knocks momentum, and then you just end up dying anyway, and just go back to lobby, and you contemplate life itself, and you wonder, is it even worth it anymore, and philosophically go on a tangent about what is even the meaning of life. Sorry, Monica, did I get off topic a bit? Sorry. Jeez.
Sorry, what are we here for? What? Well, I mean, it's all jokes and laughs, right? Except for maybe some of these teams that are about to go out a little bit too early. But the one and only, they were at number 2 on the leaderboards at the end of day number 1. We saw them get taken out actually first in the previous Erangel game, which was their first game of the day. So, that was, hey, warm-up game, everyone go back to your TDMs, keep warming up, and get ready, because this is going to be, hopefully, their turnaround time. But, I mean, they're so high in the standings that they're going to be in the Super Weekend, right? So they can kind of afford, but make your mistakes here so you don't make them in Super Weekend.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better. His face, or he's about to Okay, Monica. Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Cool. Nice circle.
Cool.
Nice.
Remember the whole kind of contemplating the meaning of life? I'd say a good few players are kind of contemplating the meaning of this circle shift.
You can give a seminar on it. This is we're basically playing Karakin right now, with how it's basically 50% of the circle, right? And it's like similar terrain. So everyone's just like, what in the world? Good golly gosh, are we playing right now?
Oh man, and okay, what I find interesting is that Cur 12 have kind of abandoned the hill as a full, like in terms of as a full squad. They have a 2-2 split. I kind of don't agree with it. NASR are kind of rotating in. It's just a massive scramble to try and find anywhere in the circle.
It's, oh man. I mean, if they were already, if you were a team that was already there, and I think I saw one team that was way high up on the mountainside, they're going to be sitting nice and pretty, because everyone is scrambling for the minimal amount of cover that is still left in the circle. And I'm sure all of them are, hey, did you actually set this to the wrong map? Because this is quite the anomaly for Miramar, that you usually see kind of big circles like this, and you still have a lot of playing time, but this is 15 minutes, almost 15 minutes in, and just everyone is just on top of each other.
Yeah, again, I don't get why K12 kind of abandoned that hill. They were in a perfect opportunity to gatekeep teams who were swinging in from the east, right? Punish teams who were scrambling to make it into the edge of the circle. Don't be one of those teams. Don't think that you need to rotate just because so many other teams are rotating. And once again, like we saw in the previous game, some really key mistakes or bad mistakes being made from Cur 12.
Yeah, sometimes it's just monkey see, monkey do, and sometimes it's not the right thing to do at all.
Yeah.
Cur 12, we had Cheetos, our machine killer, that was taken out first from his team, as now the fight's just erupting all over the place as Vista, had a little bit of fight back. I saw them get a knock onto Triple D in return, but it looks like they're going to be able to get them back on up.
Let's be fair, with all due respect to Triple Esports, but as of right now, if there's one team that can be freer eliminations compared to what Vista showed us in Game 2, it is Triple Esports, currently lying in last place in the overall standings. Not a bad rotation, but no real retaliation in that regard. Major pride on the little bit more of a central area ahead of Triple Esports. SKYROCKETs coming in from the south side of the blue. They're going to be taking a decent chunk of damage, as we're about to see the next shift pop up.
Scared.
And
it did it again.
Monica.
Yes. Yes.
That circle is literally 50% out of bounds. 50% out of bounds.
This is they fixed, remember the water zones we had seasons ago?
Yeah.
They fixed that, but now we have mountain zones.
Vikendi-like, or
yeah, no, remember, just even in Miramar, we'd have ones that set it in the circle. Everyone complained. It's like, okay, we fixed it, but here you go. You can have mountain circles now.
Damn. And look, I really feel sorry for these teams, right? Because there's just so little area of cover. Even what is inside the circle, right, is so hard to control, because it's not even hard dips. It's like low dips. It's small dips. It's difficult. It's going to be so easy to be third party. The one isolated fight at the moment is sum up between Triple Esports and Major Pride, with the side of Vista swinging in from the side. They get one player knocked up. YWZ3 along with Wizard trying to create a little bit of a spell and put it on the side of Major Pride, who are relying on the hard cover. They have the south side of the circle.
I mean, these are these teams trying to make lemonade out of some dried out lemons. It's literally trying to find a spot in the circle where there really is none at all. Triple Esports, though, they really need the points here because they are last ones in the standings and first one on the chopping block for Super Weekend to try to qualify. So have a little bit of a downhill slope. I think they're not quite within the circle yet, and Pride is going to be able to hold them off here and not allow them any more leeway into this circle.
I apologize for the amount of engagements we are going to miss with everything going on. We are bound to miss a couple of them. Right now on that northern side, NIGMA do have a bit of a 2-2 split. Lord is very close to Tam, the final player, 90th minute. You can see RTG on the dip to the side of the road, just about inside the circle. All right, they're down to just a solo with Ida and Bandar knocked. SK Tun is on his own. SK Tun trying to do something in between the smokes. And like I said, Bandar getting knocked. The finish off comes through and SK Tun confirmed to be left on his own.
That would have been a really scary angle for R8 onto RTG because they're all kind of lined up one together in the trenches there. R8 could have had a really good look down that way to see all four of them once the smokes did dissipate. We see Twisted Minds, though, Triple Esports all eliminated out of the match. So we're down to our top 13. Surprisingly, a high number of teams for how small this circle is about to be.
GEEKAY came in onto the south and said, okay, you can't get onto Major Pride. Hold my drink, hold my Monster Energy, and they take out Triple Esports. And now they're going to make the crash on the northern side. Lord holding on to the massive hillside ridge on the northern edge of the circle, helping his team to convert that control into elimination points. Amodi doing something similar. Freak on his own side tries to find a final player. Rad the Hap onto the high ground alongside with and said, you think you're alone now? No, you're not. You have a friend, not so much in need, but a friend indeed. That deed is elimination point as GEEKAY and Major Pride start to fight against each other. Hope is knocked down. Nomi's trying to pull out something big, but he's going to get dropped down to his knees. It is still a 3v1, or make that a 3v0 as Major Pride go down.
GEEKAY, though, really able to overcome onto this compound. They can't forget, though. I mean, do they even know that there's a solo of VISTA out in the wide side? It looks like they've got a grenade. They cooked it up. They heard some third-partying shots into the distance. See if they can find him as he does come back behind his van. I mean, that thing, I wouldn't get in that thing if my life depended on it. And I mean, surely his life does depend on it, but he's going to probably have to find some other way into the circle.
I thought Delhap was the final player left of Rad. I apologize. You do still have two players up on that eastern edge of the circle on the cusp of the hill. So that's a great position for them to be in. If anything, Delhap can really provide that level of support to Kaito and Sadat in their own right. Hamodi drops down and gets knocked for his troubles, but that should be okay. He'll probably get revived up. SKYROCKETs are still in the game, and Tam yet to be spotted out, but he has a decent distance and NIGMA Galaxy ahead of him before he makes it into the circle.
NIGMA Galaxy literally has 12 eliminations so far here. This is the NIGMA Galaxy that we know can put away the points and take out all the players in this lobby. We saw him kind of, maybe it was a fluke, right? Last game, they kind of went out a little bit too early, 11th position, but this is there making up for it dearly now as a circle is about to close soon as Rad downhill. NIGMA Galaxy keeping their eyesight, those long distance weapons on all of the people below them.
SKYROCKET's down to a solo outside the circle. Wanted gets finished off. Cur12, by the way, still alive as a trio. So as much as we might not have agreed with that push away from Ladrolera Hill, they've at least been able to stay somewhat active, somewhat together. And they even get to knock into one of the K12 players. They trade it in and Ragnar is left on his own. Tam of 90th minute is able to come in and be the thorn in the side to the players from NIGMA Galaxy. Gets a drop on one, but now his position has been massively exposed and Hamodi makes him pay.
Yeah, you can't forget about the souls right on behind you. Cur12, like we said, really surprising that they're able to still come up with a 3. One is knocked down, but on the receiving end of a ton of grenades from GEEKAY. Looks like here they throw in the utilities, trying to like buy some time to get the revive up. They do just get it through. They still have to come a little bit higher, but it's going to be Satan in the distance playing that kind of Overwatch, not really allowing Cur12 to just push up in front.
Muhammad helps to get the knock, and now looking for a second. Satan is trying to do something from a distance. It's only going to be a limited amount. A player from K12 is knocked, but they do get the best of the majority of the fight, and
Yes.
Satan is the last player up. He does get a knock onto Hazam. It leads him down to a solo, and as the smoke disperses, the finish comes through. He tries to be greedy, and it goes down. Still a 4th place for Kurt 12 as we're left with 3 teams.
What a mistake. That was just a complete bait in the open. He's like, I'm going to finish this one, but then get, taken out myself. I maybe, should have gotten the revive. Maybe then at that point peeked out to go for the finish, and maybe, and still not put literally all your eggs in one basket as the only solo player left alive. So mistakes made there, but GEEKAY able to reap the benefits on that one. Still one left alive and trying to go for a top 3 finish.
Just like me eating dinner, especially when I was younger, his eyes were too big for his belly.
Yes.
NIGMA Galaxy still left with 3 players strong, have the Overwatch under Rad's position, and they need to move in from that eastern side of this previous circle into the next one. Kaido drops. Sadat drops. There's nothing they can do, and Delhap is left on his own. At least he's in that northern precipice of the circle, but surrounded by 2 teams. This looks to be very confident for NIGMA Galaxy to secure another chicken dinner in League Week number 1.
Yeah, this is the last player of Rad, is kind of right behind him. Oh, and he tried to get Hamilton, but gets turned on and gets finished out. So we have a 3 versus 1. GEEKAY Satan, their IGL. He's just going to be playing solo here. Obviously, the smokes. He did get what? Can he see through the smoke with their X-ray vision? Was able to find the last player of GEEKAY, and winner chicken does go to the NIGMA Galaxy we know and love.
Very simple. Smokes do technically take away cover, right? However, it's trackable in terms of he did get a bolt action shot connected onto the final player of GEEKAY, and then all he had to do was spray those bullets connected at the right time, and down he went. NIGMA Galaxy, that was just a great chicken dinner. Again, I feel sorry for like so many of these teams, because when you had those circles just shifting to the west and barren wastelands that are available, and the first team to get to those kind of like western high grounds were the kind of best teams to find success, NIGMA Galaxy being one of those teams, it was so much more difficult for the other teams.
Difficult indeed. So let's take a look at the match rankings and see how this crazy circle played out, and may have been either good for a team like NIGMA Galaxy right on top, or pretty poor for the teams that were on the bottom. But I think, yeah, it's just 30, 20. When did they get 20 eliminations, Imperium? That's insane.
I didn't even notice that from NIGMA Galaxy. I'm not gonna lie, that went way over my head. Incredible. And I gotta say, I was kind of thinking it as well, as much as I highlighted feeling sorry for the other teams, it also makes me realize and recognize that very few teams could actually do what NIGMA Galaxy did in that game. Like, that is a true definition of, although having the circle in your favor, doing something with it. And NIGMA Galaxy did everything with that circle in their favor.
I mean, they landed on Pozo, so the circle was kind of right in their backyard, right? They never had to really, truly, like, long distance rotate too much. But 20 eliminations is, just to give you kind of a frame of reference, they got 29 eliminations the entire day yesterday, right? Out of 4 matches. Here they got 20 in 1 match.
And even in this game alone, GEEKAY got 11 eliminations. That means 31 were between the top 2 teams. That's just under half of the lobby eliminated in the top 2 teams. That's why you see that massive drop down to like even 6th place, with Major Pride only getting 6 points. Let's move on to the second page, because it's even worse for the teams who are in this side of the standings. 90th minute with 3, and it just goes down from there.
I think the one and only is like, hey, we qualified yesterday, let's just have fun today. Maybe dying first in both matches that they played is not quite fun, but they're certainly taking it kind of easy, right? They're well within qualifying range, but they're just kind of sandbagging themselves. Don't expose too much of your strategies and fighting power until where it actually counts in Super Weekend.
Exactly, because there is something to be said. I'm not saying they're performing badly on purpose. I genuinely don't think that, because I don't think any of these players do perform badly on purpose. But there's something to be said for using the security of being qualified into the first Super Weekend and the remaining games that you have left to try different strats, to experiment different rotations, to push in different ways, and to also kind of take a target off their back. Because if the only one
Yeah.
ended the first league week, let's say hypothetically in the top 3, that does put more eyes on them. It does mean that other teams coming into the first Super Weekend probably, would look at their rotations more heavily and counter them.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely not a Miramar circle I was expecting, but let's go and see some highlights from this past Miramar and try to make sense of what we just saw. The highlights were probably one of the better highlights, I'd say, of today. Just so much action and so many eliminations, especially for our top 2 teams. Remember, this broadcast is brought to you by Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, which is the official designated smartphone for PUBG Mobile Middle East and Africa Esports 2022. You can upgrade performance and upgrade the fun with this phone. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G.
Thank you very much, Oppo, for sponsoring all of these amazing games and tournaments. And certainly one to watch would be that previous game that we just witnessed. Let's have a look at the overall standings and see how it's impacted the teams and how they end up coming into this 4th game. Again, only 2 games are left in this league week 1.
Yeah, it's always achievement, right? We're in the triple digits for numbers for NIGMA Galaxy, and it's not. I think we just hit our halfway point for day number 2, this last day of the league standings or league games. GEEKAY Esports, I want to say close, but not really. 11 points behind them, but I mean, it's all, as long as you're on this top half, you're feeling good, right? Going into the last 2 games.
Exactly. 90th minute, 0 chicken dinners, but arguably have been pretty happy with them. Maybe a little bit more, too much of a reliance on placement points, as they only have 25 eliminations. I could say the same about Rad. However, I think there's been a couple of games where Rad have tried to be aggressive, maybe haven't executed some fundamentals around it. Both of these teams I'll be looking out for how much they can improve on aggression in both the remaining games today and coming into the Super Weekend.
Yeah. So these teams here, they can, this is where they can, hey, if we want to try a new strategy, if we want to try something new or try a rotation or a split that we haven't really had like a good opportunity to do before, this could be a good time for these teams here, right? There's nothing to lose, everything to gain in terms of knowledge, information, experience going into Super Weekend, where that's the time where the points really count. You can't really just experiment around anymore.
Let's move on to the second page of the overall standings. Take a look at who's obviously looking a little bit dodgier. I think we can kind of somewhat say that 9th to 11th, maybe 12th, to give a bit of respect to 4K, are arguably comfortable, right? 43 to 49, with 2 games to go for all of those teams, is certainly positive.
Certainly positive. Yeah, so I mean, I want to see how close the scores are though for like 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th place, because it is any of the teams kind of right below. I think the cutoff was 34 points. So VISTA Gaming team, actually VISTA is now new to the bottom 4. I think it was
That's
K12
true.
that has made their way up now, but there is still only like a 5-point difference between 16th and 17th place. So still one good game kind of coming out of any of these teams, except for probably Triple Esports, can push them back up into top 16.
Definitely, and as we look at the schedule with 2 more games to go, to remind you, we have groups sitting out for those remaining 2 games. In this 4th game in Erangel, it's going to be Group B not playing. That is decided 90th minute, GEEKAY, Esports, NIGMA, Galaxy, and RAD. More importantly, into the final game, Monica, both Curd 12 and SKYROCKETs aren't playing. And that's their this next game is their final opportunity to book their spot, to book their golden ticket, to say, hippie hooray, we are into the first Super Weekend. SKYROCKETs are currently in 16th spot, and although they have 5 points ahead, they still need a good result.
For sure. But let's take a look at one of the coolest new in-game outfits and skins and everything that you can get. This is going to be the Grizzly Bear card collection. Join the card collection draw and you can win a ton of outfits. There's a chance to get all the pieces of an item in one go. So, you know, you've had some crates in the past. You're like, I got to spin for a million years to try to get, you know, all the things in this crate. There is a chance that you could potentially get all of them. It is live now. Actually, sorry, live on June 23rd all the way to July 6th. So definitely check it out, look at it, and hopefully you'll add it to your portfolio of outfits in game.
So in 48 hours, it will be live now. That's it, right? As you move into game number 4 of the day, back on over to the wonderful map, the OG, the original, the top dog, the Say It Ain't So map of Erangel for game number 4.
Game number 4. So this is where potentially you could see some teams where they kind of might target. For example, like, so you said VISTA, this is their last game, right? And they're just kind of borderline.
No, not VISTA. It's SKYROCKETs and Curd 12.
Oh, I see. Okay, so one of those teams where it's like their last game, and even as we get into the last 2 days of league play, if there is a team that doesn't, you know, would benefit to not having them in Super Weekend. I'll just give an example of like VISTA. Like, say the next game is VISTA's last game, right? VISTA, say they stay in that bottom 4. If I was NIGMA Galaxy, I don't want VISTA playing spoiler to me in Super Weekend. I would be targeted in them, going after them, make sure they don't get the points, and make sure they don't qualify into Super Weekend.
That's kind of interesting. That really is kind of interesting. That's super interesting. Yes, you're not wrong, but I would argue that right now VISTA are no threat to NIGMA Galaxy. Yeah, they've been a little bit annoying to NIGMA Galaxy, but in no way are they a threat. So maybe in League Week 3, we could see that come to fruition. But I think in the first League Week, I feel like every single one of these teams are just going to be playing their own game.
Yeah, we finally see our potential military base island for, you know, Orlando Thunders is probably real happy with this one, but then I mean some other teams that are like, I don't know, all the way up in the northern side, like Falcons, like R8, they're rotating up to loot to have to rotate all the way back down.
Also, if you look at SKYROCKETs, I think they were heading towards They must be heading towards maybe kind of Quarry. As soon as that phase 1 popped up, they instantly turned around and headed towards that western edge of Military Island. I think that's what they were doing anyway, unless their intention was always to go there, but it did look like they switched up their drop spot instantly based off the phase 1 popping up.
Well, Bandar has a shotgun for himself, but yeah, they're going all the way out. Remember, they loot up into the North Georgia Pole area, like far up closer to Zarky. I don't think they need to go that far because they're able to identify this zone is probably, you know, this plane was probably to the point where no one else is going to be going up there. But stop a little shy, get the loot, and then quickly rotate down.
The only one in K12 looking for a similar idea of rotating into the island fairly early on. It certainly makes sense. K12 dropped the Milta. They're a quick short trip away, and the only one, like I said, on the same path line. They've yet to really engage on each other. K12 did get a couple of players up there first, so hopefully it might allow them to get a bit of an early pick on. However, I think the only one saw that K12 went to the right of Military Island, so they're sticking more to the kind of left-hand side near the observation tower. Not observation tower, radio tower.
I'm hoping the one and only has a good game, because they really have just gotten goose egg after goose egg of points so far, and this is the team that I didn't really get to see them from yesterday make their way up into second place. So this is the one that, you know, I literally haven't seen anything from them yet because they've just gone out so early.
Twisted Minds, what will they decide to do? Certainly looking more comfortable in the overall standings at this point in day 2, 47 points, 11th place in the overall standings. The interesting thing is, as much as it kind of like we've highlighted around teams making an early entry point into Military Island, changing their drop spot to Military Island, this kind of phase 1 does put into the mix a potential shift up north on phase 2, phase 3 to Military Island isn't necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah, not committing either, but Twisted Minds, they did land in Pachinki, which is where NIGMA Galaxy usually goes. Obviously, you know, kind of like we talked about before, they're able to see, hey, exactly these 4 teams aren't here. We want Pachinki because that's a really good spot. But a military base island circle coming out of Pachinki, they need to rotate fast, right? They need to beat the crowd to try to get across the bridge if it does go all the way over there. And at this point, 5 minutes in, they're still looting up in Pachinki versus other teams like K12. Just, you know, they landed, saw the circle, immediate rotate past, and then continued their looting part 2 on the military base island.
Conqueror Rack going for a western bridge camp. Kind of both in a position where they're not committing to Military Island spot, but they're also very quick if the next circle shifts in their direction. Vista Gaming staying in Primorsk isn't actually a bad idea because they can always take boats and shift on over to the western side of the island. And one interesting thing I see is that out of the teams that did go on to Military Island, none of them have stuck to the north side of it. They've all gone down to the south.
Sometimes when it's a good idea, like it is a good idea if you're the only one who has it, but it looks like when multiple people have the exact same idea, it's a terrible idea, as we see Herd 12 now rotating right into the laps of SKYROCKET.
Nice by Sheetos, pushes on board with the side of Madlol. They're going to get the better of SKYROCKETs and pick up 2 eliminations. More importantly, none of the knocks. It was only one, but the knock didn't confirm in a knock, so they didn't confirm in an elimination. So it means that the side of Cur 12 are still up as a full squad.
So that could have been disastrous for Curd 12 if they got there and the entire team of SKYROCKETs, they were, hey, I hear a vehicle coming. Oh, the whole team is coming here, and had a little bit more fighting power. But I mean, pushed in there, they got 1 knocked, and then it was just a 3 versus 2, and they were able to overwhelm that half of SKYROCKETs and then take up that positioning.
Like, looking at CONQUEROR's Erangel stats and average eliminations of 2 per game, if you compare that to Miramar, I guarantee you would be on the opposite scale. So really, I'm looking for CONQUEROR to have a good game this time around in Erangel. It's tricky with the circle shift, so I want to definitely make that a part of a good or a bad judgment. As of right now, they're positioned extremely strongly in phase 1.
Yeah, I got to cast the Conqueror Germany EU edition earlier this year. So now, you know, shifting to a different region, I get to see their Iraq team as well. So really impressed by them. Really great stuff coming out from them too. And I mean, they're saying themselves, they're already well within Super Weekend, right? Like they did well yesterday, had a chicken dinner, and now RTG crashed. Was that a rock or it crashed onto the ground?
I think it crashed onto a rock, if I'm not mistaken. NASR Esports have made a very intelligent play, and I was wondering if any of these teams are going to do that. They've gone onto a very southern tip of that mainland, the central kind of coastal line mainland, and they've set one player, Bethika. There you go. Thank you, Imperium, for actually being able to talk. Down to that military island on the northern tip, because it's a very short distance. And as they're the first team to do that, I think they're really well prepared for either shift either to the mainland or to the military island.
Yeah, sometimes these teams here, because there still is a chance it could come back onto the main island, right? And you don't want to be a team, say POWR, right? They land in GEEKAY, commit to crossing the bridge, maybe lose one, and then the circle just to come back, and then they got to cross one more time in a super dangerous bridge and potentially lose more. So they're just waiting here, and you always, like this is kind of, now it's more favoring the main island, right? Now it's just kind of, these players are like, wow, we had such a bad circle last game. Can we just catch a break and have an easy central position? And this time it's, no, we're still going to keep you guys on your toes.
That's true. However, like, look at VISTA Gaming. They were so late on their disengagement away from Primorsk on the boats that they had to turn around. But I look at that and I go, that's incredibly bad mistake. I'm sorry, but that's incredibly bad timing. If you are going to make a botation from somewhere like Primorsk onto Military Island, do it as quickly as possible. If you're going to wait where you are in this kind of circle, just wait until phase 2 pops up. It gives you a much more calculated idea on where you need to go in that next circle. So VISTA Gaming have wasted a lot of time by rotating so late in phase 1, or attempting to.
But at least they didn't, like, if they get earlier, they made it all the way to the southern island and wasted all the gas, and maybe potentially that boat is out of, you know, usage. So maybe this is like a failed successfully because we only made it halfway there, but we still have time to make it halfway back. So just kind of like accidentally, they can still probably make it back to Ferry Pier.
I appreciate it, Monica. I appreciate that you're trying to find a defense for them. It's definitely nice
Glass
to see that
full.
other, you know, glass half full. And I genuinely do. I really genuinely do, because it's important to kind of have every kind of angle of you know, every angle of potential reason behind a team deciding to do something, because we aren't in their you know, Discord call or whatever way they're communicating. We're not in their team at the moment, so we can only ever, within reason, speculate why they're doing something, as teams are trying to scramble and find a position. The teams that are inside Military Island, they can still technically stay there for this phase 2.
SKYROCKET, I would normally say this is a really good position, but they only have 2. Curd 12, that did diminish them down to only 50%, lingering in the distance onto the compound. So they're just waiting. So Curd 12 is, they're keeping their options open, right? If the circle shifts back on the mainland, they're going to be one of the first teams across the bridge. If it stays on the military base, though, they're going to have a lot of teams trying to rotate, like bomb it onto the bridge, pass them, and they might be able to pick off a lot of eliminations. Yeah, I would. Do they just not know that? Because you need to park your cars in a way that it's safe from all angles, right?
They must have an idea that the 2 remaining players of SKYROCKETs are there. They're getting inside a boat, and they can actually take that boat to the very edge of Ferry Pier. That's a really good idea. Do I think it's too late into phase 2? Much like VISTA Gaming, yeah, I actually do. That's so late into phase 2. They should get away with it, but timing, not really in the right direction, in my opinion.
This is a missed opportunity from SKYROCKET. So you know how easily those
right?
boats blow up. They had all 4 of those play there. Clearly, this player of SKYROCKET's up on top of that mountain would have had eyesight on them and didn't. Okay, oh, maybe here it is. Okay, so they didn't completely throw that, but blew up the boat. They all exited before they could die, and then now they're just swimming ducks in the water and coming back onto the bridge. I think it's okay. Call it. Miriam, you think it's gonna be a main island or a military base island?
I'm gonna be a complete a-hole and I'm gonna say military island finish, because the way I look at it is that, like, if I'm wrong, nothing really lost. If I win,
whatever.
It's all hell breaks loose and we're getting 2 games in a row where it's a crazy circle.
How? How did it
Cheetos
not?
got there, and Cheetos, right?
It's always Cheetos,
always
machine killer.
Cheetos.
It's always Cheetos. But I mean, it was good for. I mean, that could have been very dire for Curd 12 because they could have lost all 4 in just that one boat. But SKYROCKET's, they really needed to put that one away, and they weren't able to quite close it out.
The lovely nade once again going in the direction towards the top of the ridge side, not quite connecting, a little bit overcooked. Again, this is also a product of Curd 12 just taking too long to make a rotational decision and being pinched inside this area, and they are going to have the only one also swinging around, so this is a potential third party. K12, Curd 12 need to very much have their blinkers on and looking in all directions.
Are both these teams at the bottom of the leaderboard? I think Curd 12 just made their way into top 16. I think SKYROCKET
Curd 12
is also...
are 13th and SKYROCKET's are 15th. By no means are any of these teams comfortable.
Yeah, so they're both kind of playing here, because if they can take one of the teams out, especially SKYROCKET, if they can take Curd 12 out,
well,
that's their opportunity to get up a little higher.
Also, they're the 2 teams that aren't playing the final game. Literally, Curd 12
So this
and
is their last
SKYROCKET.
game.
This is their last opportunity to get points and make it into the first Super Weekend. And right now, SKYROCKET Esports, they're not looking too hot right now as they're down to 2 players. We move on to the fight between VISTA Gaming and R8. Trofka is knocked. Possible revive being played through, not quite. Dino has to get a first aid off, and Nate is going to connect. SK Ton is going to disengage him around, and that's going to be smoke in the direction to try and help get the revive off.
Yeah, definitely very acutely aware of exactly where the enemies are. We now have SkyTon climbing up onto the 2nd floor, moving, shifting around, has the grenade, cooking it just a little bit longer. He does tend to overcook his grenades just a little bit, and yeah, just misses out. So it's going to be him actually all by himself with Vista pushing up onto the roof.
Such an important fight for VISTA Gaming, not only to come out on top, but to not lose any of these players as well, to keep them up as a full squad. SK Ton is going to jump down and try and surprise one of the players from VISTA Gaming. He gets a knock, the confirmation comes through. SK Ton just being a thorn in the side as he plays on the side of the wall. A team comes in for a third party. That's going to be Falcons pushing on in. Dino's going to have to try and scale back. Trofka's down, Sunrise is knocked, and all goes horribly wrong for VISTA Gaming, but can they turn it around? Major Pride are on the northern side. They're coming in for a pinch, and Dino goes down. Evo Station's left on his own.
I thought we were setting up for a 1 versus 4 potentially coming out from R8, but then it was Falcons to really swoop in and show us why they are one of the apex predators, birds of prey, as now Vista is on the cusp of saying hasta la vista to the lobby, because it's only 1 player left alive trying to go for a quick revive, as Falcon, never alone, pushing up right close and personal.
This is also very important for Team Falcons. They're coming into this game in 19th place, 26 points. They've not performed really at all. They have this game. They have the next game to get the relevant points needed to book their spot into the first Super Weekend. Luckily for VISTA Gaming, they did get the revive, so they are back up as a duo. And with Major Pride on the other side, that can either go in their favor or against them. If they scale too back, they're going to get absolutely violated by the side of Major Pride, as the circle has centered up. These 2 teams are outside the circle.
I think Pride knows that there's not a position in the circle, right? They're staying close enough that they could potentially pick off a kill or elimination, but they're not too close that they're committing to the spot outside the circle for a potential other team to rotate next to them and then gatekeep them now from coming in. Now it's going to look like the fight between Falcons and Vista Ridge about to erupt as we see the first casualty, Bloom.
You know what, the ump is going to get dropped down to his knees, tries to jump out of the building, but why are you going in on your own?
What?
I know you got the knock, but it's got to be a two-man push if you're going to in any way come out on top. Evo's station down behind the side of the rock. There's lots of smokes in his way. He's not going to be able to get too much of a pick. He's going to be able to spot it. Never alone. He gets a drop. He gets a finish. He gets a confirmation. It's 1v2. The hope is still alive for Vista Gaming.
That was he trying to bait out with a car, but it was actually the car that put him down into the grave as he was knocked out from the vehicle explosion, and Vista just through the windows, just, I don't know, just over peaking, and it's just out in 14th position. So, I mean, that's going to be it for Vista.
It is indeed a mainland finish. The circle kind of does shift up northwest once again. Fairy Pier is the name of the game.
Ooh.
For all of these remaining teams. As OOREDOO Thunder is under pressure at the hands of CONQUEROR Raptor. He's the only one that's on one of those little islands down on the southeastern edge of the circle. They can do something to get involved from a distance, but you can see 3 of the OOREDOO Thunder players are down. Just Smoker left alive.
I think 2 of them were from the same grenade. The third one, I'm not really sure. But yeah, Smoker just, I don't know, just waiting out in the little shack within the city of Fairy Pier as just his teammates are just getting, you know, burned to crisp in the distance. Team CONQUEROR, though, we had some high hopes for them. They just need to get a revive and be all for it, left standing as the only one still in the distance, like you said, just having a little beach vacation out there and just taking their sweet time to get in.
SKYROCKETs and Cur12, by the way, still alive in their final game, but they're both down to just a solo. So Cur12, that kind of pinch on that coastline ended up going against them. That's a lovely spray by Frozen, a major Pride. Finds one of CONQUEROR from a distance, looks for another, not quite enough. Again, the damage certainly being done against that team in a distance. They do hold on to that southern edge of the circle as we saw a major shift over to the east.
Yeah, the only one, I'm not sure what the strategy is to get into this circle because they're going for double revives right now. Team CONQUEROR has the positioning in the circle. They can just stay here and not let them cross the water unless the only one grows some gills and, you know, swims all the way around to try to find an easier way to breach and ascend the beach. Twisted Minds, though, right on the backside of our ever, you know, highest survivability team, 4K.
K12, by the way, went out and they did get themselves 3 points. So at the moment, that puts them on a total of 39 points. And I understand that could very easily put them into the first Super Weekend. It remains to be seen as this game rages on. Twisted Minds trying to hold down strong. Dammy's knocked, followed by Ragnarok. 4K gonna try and catch them out on 4K. It's not what you want to see, but you certainly will revel in it as Darby is gonna have to scale back a little bit. There's a team getting involved from the third party direction. That's RTG outside of the circle.
This is such a hard spot to push up onto as 4K now looking to defend from Twisted Minds, wrapping all the way around, playing the mind games, gets the knock, trying to go for a second as he's trying to come over, and Twisted Minds, though, is just, I think that's just too difficult to try to push with multiple teams shooting at them.
RTG was a team to actually get involved from the third party direction as one knock is going to get the knock onto a player of RTG, but a lot of work still to be done. A revive came through in the meantime. Nades are going to start flying. RTG got involved, but did they make the push a little bit too early? I get that the blue zone was close to their backs, but maybe they could have waited a little bit longer. I appreciate the push as they stay alive.
Yeah, Road to Glory definitely needing a little bit of help and little bit because their Road to Glory is currently at the bottom of the standings. The only one now eliminated out in 9th position as RTG just get a revive. 4K, though, still spread out over the top, still has a little bit of a high upper ground as both these teams have found their way just on the edge of the circle.
4K gonna have to try and hold things out. They do have the edge of the circle against them. The next one does shift and it goes heavily in the direction of southeast, away from the Ferry Pier hillside, across the road. Nobody at the moment, Monica, is inside the circle.
Nope. I mean, this could be the kind of saving grace. The planets have aligned potentially for triple esports right there at the bottom of the leaderboards, I think with 9 points. If they can stay on that side of the circle, they could potentially get, I don't too optimistically say a chicken dinner, but get some major points here, as the other teams in the circle are going to be kind of tearing each other apart, dwindling their numbers, and they could potentially come out on top. 2 eliminations found so far, and still all 4 players left up on their feet. CONQUEROR is going to be the only other team with all 4 players up as well.
SKYROCKET in their own right as well went out with 4 points in total, so that puts them on 42, more importantly ahead of Cur 12 in the overall rankings. We'll have to once again keep an eye on that coming into the final game of the day. 4K disengaging away, at least sending 1 player towards the northern edge of the circle across the road on the cusp of the hill, going to be pushed out by POWR Esports, while the rest of his team are going to get punished from behind by the side of RTG. A third party gets involved. RTG are still alive. They're still alive, and they get on top of 4K.
I really thought 4K was going to be the kings of the hill on that side, but I think it was a third party coming down from a triple esports, now finding 3 eliminations. Now RTG needs to put the pressure on themselves to try to get in. CONQUEROR, though, defending from Pride right on the side, still within the city of Ferry Pier.
Triple esports came into today's games on 9 points. They're now up to 33 and into the top 5. It's a glow up coming through for triple esports. Did we count them out too early? Remains to be seen. They're on the northeastern edge of the circle. Major Pride, one of the teams down on the south side. They are surrounded by players, whether it's POWR Esport or CONQUEROR Iraq. I doubt they're going to get past it, if anything, with a sliver of players left alive.
I mean, this is so good for triple esports. They have all 4 players. The other teams in the lobby, as you saw, Pride taking out one of the members, you know, flushing him as well. Team CONQUEROR putting everyone else to 3 or even just 2 players. So they now currently have, just in terms of sheer numbers, the strongest fragging power if they can keep all 4 continuing up. Pride, now they know that now is their time. They need to get into this next circle. It looks like they're just on foot, weaving through the buildings and trying to find any little corner that they can find. But where they ran away from CONQUEROR, they now find themselves right next to POWR.
Triple esports, I like what they're attempting to do to gain a little bit more northern control, but the circle will shift down to southwest. Major Pride loses Nomi, another one possibly coming through, and that's going to be Yen put down to his knees. Major Pride have just 1 player left up. CONQUEROR in their own right have done a hell of a lot of work throughout this game, being in this Ferry Pier position for such a long time. They are still 3 players strong and counting. Frozen is on his own, and he's going to have to be frozen in time, staying prone down, waiting for the perfect time to strike against either POWR Esports or CONQUEROR Iraq. Pick up as many elimination points as you can, as that's what exactly triple esports are looking to do.
So good for triple esports, but where Pride ran away from CONQUEROR, they just left themselves completely open for CONQUEROR just to come up right behind them again, just follow right in their footsteps and take the majority of his team out. So it's going to be a 3 versus 4 and a 1 solo player Pride, maybe to play spoiler to the likes of CONQUEROR if they completely forget about him and turn all of their attention onto triple esports. Looks like they're going to want to flush this one out because clearly they heard some shots coming from this direction before.
I think they know there's still a player behind them, and they're not going to be comfortable taking this final fight before they get rid of what's going on behind them. The sniper tower is certainly good for Rio. It's inside the circle. The open area from triple esports is going to have to be controlled strongly, and Clever is going to get the perfect pick onto Rio in the sniper tower. Reva's going to try and respond, makes his way up the stairs, and that is the best information triple esports could have asked for. Frozen wasn't finished off, wasn't taken down, and now he makes his way into the sniper tower and stabs CONQUEROR Iraq in the back. What a great solo play from Frozen and Major Pride.
Frozen is just getting the redemption for the rest of this team that got taken out by the other members of Conqueror. So what they used to be 3 Conquerors have now down to only 1 as Pride. He's going to be kind of, pigeonholed himself all the way up in that wizard tower. So it's going to be Result from Triple Esports lobbing a grenade up onto the top. I think he's going to be hidden just a little bit in that room. Did a little bit nick of damage. He throws a Molotov up into the 2nd floor as well. But now it's going to be Groza's turn to play the solo in the grass.
Are Triple Esports being too heavily distracted by Frozen in that sniper tower? Have they forgotten about potentially other angles in play? Remains to be seen as why WZ3 actually knocks himself out. You hate to see it. Is it a blunder? Will it cost Triple Esports not only the chicken dinner, but a spot into the first Super Weekend? My God, you would hate to see that happen. Frozen is just continuing to be a major thorn in the side of all of these remaining teams. He's still alive. He is still in the game. And as the circle shifts over to the east, he's outside the circle.
He's definitely outside the circle here, so he just needs to play a little bit survivability. Don't get knocked by the utilities, as Groza is using this as a distraction to stay on his belly, dropped his backpack, dropped everything that wasn't necessary to crawl on in, and that was a really, really good grenade. Almost got the knock, but they know they have him cornered here. Let's hope that Frozen has a ton of first aids.
Oh, Frozen goes down to the blue, and now there's one there left up. He goes down, and Triple Esports come out of nowhere with the chicken dinner and Erangel.
This is to the absolute horror of everyone else that was right above them. Remember, Triple Esports was at the bottom of the leaderboard before today. Everyone right above them, like Road to Glory, like Team Falcon, SKYROCKET, it's like, crap. Like, now we are down 1 more. We thought they were completely out, but they're really able to make it count when it matters most.
Like, they were the only team on single digits coming into today's games.
Yeah.
And even after the first game, they got 0 points, right? So they were also the only team on single digits. And I think it was even after kind of like 8 games or something like that. Either way, they were down in the dumps big time. But I gotta say, in these last 2 games, they picked up the pace. They found something magical, and they've turned it into a lot of points. 24 in this game alone.
Yeah, 24 points, just Triple Esports. I mean, they should be named a quadruple Esports, right? Like, all 4 of them pulling their weight, able to really put up those points. But Conquer Iraq, I think we were highlighting them, saying, oh, Miramar is it's their map. They do so well in there. But, they're saying Erangel's our map too. Like, we got 2nd place, highest eliminations in the entire lobby, and getting 22 total points.
I don't hold what Frozen did against them, right? I really don't, because I think they had an idea, but again, if you're tunnel visioned, you can kind of get caught out on their own right. And as a team, they clearly decided that to focus on what was in front of them, and that's where Major Pride kind of got involved. It was a wonderful initial knock, by the way, from Triple Esports onto Rio, if I'm not mistaken, inside the sniper tower. So certainly kind of set a domino effect in that direction. Road to Glory picked up 12, POWR with 14, and Team Falcons, again, they were coming into this game. Team Falcons were on a total of, where were Team Falcons again? Oh my God. They were in 20th on 31 points.
Yeah, they were down.
Yeah, so they only got 5. And yeah, okay, they have the final game, but man, it's going to be tough.
Tough indeed, as we look at the second half. Even more tough for these teams, as we see some of these teams like Curd 12 and actually SKYROCKET was on top, but some of these teams that was their last game, right? There's no more points to be had for the rest of here. And Curd 12, I mean, they're really in the hot seat here, because they were, what you said, 13th position, but they only got 3 points, right? And all the other teams below them still have, I think, another game to attempt to get some more. But I mean, this is getting to the last one, right? This is luckily for SKYROCKET and Curd 12. The likes of VISTA Gaming only got 3 points as well. Yeah, 3 points as well. But let's look at the highlights and try to see how much action we actually saw in that last Erangel game. We are gearing up for the very last match of the day. Remember, this broadcast is brought to you by Oppo. So upgrade performance and upgrade your fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, which is the official smartphone and designated smartphone for the PUBG Mobile Middle East and Africa Esports in 2022.
Indeed, this is the final game of the day, so the final opportunity for teams to make a name for themselves, and those who are close to not making it for Super Weekend to get in there. Let's have a straight up look into the overall standings, Monica. And of course, once again, the top 8 teams, nothing really too much to talk about. They're all pretty secure in this first Super Weekend.
Yeah, so there's none of these teams at the top are really sweating anything, right? This is just we're in for the Super Weekend. We conserve some energy, conserve some strats for this weekend, where the points actually do matter. Those ones are going to rack up, and those are the ones that we will take our top 16 into the finals from the Super Weekend. So these ones, no sweat at all. But let's take a look at the second page, where really at the bottom of that one, they're going to be a little bit more sweating, right? These are the ones that I would say probably like 14 and under, maybe. It depends on what the bottom 4 is, but this is where it's getting a little closer.
Yeah, the only one esports, they're okay. Twisted Minds, they're okay. NASR, they're okay. 4K and POWR Esports, they should be okay. The reason why I say that is because there's 4 teams from 17th to 20th. So for the likes of kind of 4K and POWR to not qualify, it requires kind of all the teams below them. And with Cur 12 not playing in this game, for example, and another team as well, that let's move on to the final page though and see who, as of right now, are not in the first Super Weekend.
Yeah, so the teams here that is not in this last game is going to be SKYROCKET. So unfortunately, SKYROCKET is definitely not qualifying. We still have a chance for Triple Esports, still have a chance for VISTA, and still have a chance for FALCONS. So remember, up above it was, I think, 40 points or something. So they're all within that like 7 point striking distance to try to get up into top 16 if they can get those points.
Team FALCONS, look, they have a tough task ahead of them, and you know what could help them? Maybe having a little bit of a sip of Monster, the official energy drink for the PMPL Arabia 2022 fall split. Get some energy into you, get some focus, because you need every single point that you can get.
Yeah, definitely. Monster has such a wide variety. I really like Monster, so I've tried a lot of the different flavors and stuff, but they have a lot of different like caffeine counts, calorie counts, sugar counts, and stuff that pretty much goes for everybody. So very excited to see the last match though. So we're gonna go back to Miramar. Hopefully it's not as crazy as a circle as that third match that we saw.
No, I'm hoping that it's a lot more normalized, and it kind of really gives all of these teams an opportunity to get the best result that they can, right? As of right now, Cur 12 are okay, but again, they're not playing in this game, and they're on a total of 39 points. If we take Falcon in last, that's only pretty much 8 points for them to get, and they're into the final Super Weekend, into the first Super Weekend. The biggest task is that they've got 4 teams in front of them, as far as I know, and that means that they need to. Falcons need to perform better than all the other 4 teams, as well as getting the relevant points needed to move ahead of Current Squad.
Yeah, we are, again, Erangel, Miramar, and actually this is a very similar playing path to the last game. It's just, I think it's just shifted a little bit more to the central area, but it was also a very kind of vertical playing path up this way. So I think the teams are going to have an even easier time getting to, say, a more extremity drop like El Azahar or down to Puerto Paraiso. We got Triple Esports down in Puerto Paraiso, or even POWR 4K all the way out to El Azahar. So I think this time we won't see too much just kind of random dropping if they can't get to where they want to go.
Man, triple esports. I'm here for their glow up. Right, like I said, coming into this game on a total of on a total of nine points in today's games, and what an improvement they made. Well done to them. They're so close now to qualifying for this first Super Weekend. It's all about finishing on this high note, and that phase one, it's not as bad as the previous game, but it's certainly not good.
I think that's saying something. Not as bad, but it still has a kind of chunk that's erasing. People are like, oh, not again. But I think this will be a little bit more manageable. I know Vista, this is their, chance to qualify, and they're kind of right on that cusp if they can or not. So they do have that central position. They're going to Chumacera, and they're one of those teams that, I mean, I've seen them kind of land all over the place before. They're one of those teams that looks at where is it open on the map for what teams aren't in here, and they realize that, hey, Major Pride is not in here, so we're going to land in Chumacera this time.
So Falcons, Vista, and Triple, 31, 32, 33 respectfully, are in the bottom four coming into this game. Of course, SKYROCKET's not playing in this game. They're guaranteed not making it into the first Super Weekend. One of these teams that is looking to secure their spot is the side of OOREDOO Thunder. As of right now, they're in 14th. Monica on 40 points. I think 3 to 4 points will see them be pretty safe in the, well, not pretty safe, but just about safe in the first Super Weekend.
I guess you never want to put yourself in the position where it's like, okay, we need 3 points, or we need, X amount of points like that. You want to be like the top half, right? Hey, I'm not losing anything. Even if we go out, that's okay, because it affects you. If you're playing, you're in 17th position. You're like, we need a chicken dinner. You're gonna be playing maybe a little more jittery, maybe a little like less away. I don't know. It's just definitely not.
You're just not as focused, right?
Play. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it hurts you. Now, look, I would argue that every single player and every single pro player, competitive player across not only PUBG Mobile but many esports will face these challenges, and it's important that they face these challenges, that they go through these experiences, because it's how you develop as a player, right? That you're able to learn from these mistakes and kind of evolve and grow and become better over time.
I like that. Did you see the mass spam switching seats to try to avoid getting shot?
Perfect. Yeah.
Such perfect. Nice strat. Yeah, it's so great. But maybe so hyper focused on, okay, we need this many points, that you forget, hey, I forgot to clear out this corner of this building that we're pushing, right? And some of these teams, they play way better relaxed. Maybe they play better when they're actually having fun, and when all you're focused on at the points is you're probably not having that much fun.
Always. So as of right now, Vista Gaming somewhat in the center of the circle around Chumacera, so they're looking pretty good. But again, it means they're going to have teams coming towards them, so they're going to have to be proactive and kind of get their butt into gear in that regard. NIGMA Galaxy still in El Pozo, pretty normal stuff. And Twisted Minds back into their normal drop spot of Monte Nuevo.
Back to Monte Nuevo. Maybe we should have dropped there last time, and it would have fared a little bit better, because it was literally, it was not even 200 meters to their left hand side was where that circle ended. But the only one, I'm still waiting to see some great things from them, because every time I see them kind of just go out a little bit too early. So maybe they're just saving it all for Super Weekend. So I'll be excited to see that when that happens.
Actually, most of the circles we've had in Miramar have either been kind of northwest or southwest. We've yet to see an eastern circle in the Miramar games, and over a total of how many Miramar games? Oh my god, 5 Miramar games. Yeah. So out of 5 Miramar games, we have not seen an eastern circle in any way, shape, or form. It's just something to at least observe coming into the Super Weekend number 1, where teams can, for the most part, learn from the league days and kind of carry that learning into the Super Weekend. So they're gonna have no real knowledge on path lines coming into the east if we do see an eastern circle in any of the Miramar games to begin with in the first Super Weekend.
You know what that means, right, Imperium? That means
Yeah.
this weekend. All Eastern circles, and everyone can
Yes!
just land on the Eastern side and just don't even think about a Western circle because it's all going to happen on the East side. So we're going to see hot drops in Impala and Puerto Paraiso and Al Azahar. It's all going to be out in that general area. Calling it now. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big brain call, and honestly, I don't disagree with you at all. I don't disagree with you at all because that's the way that PUBG Mobile gods work, right?
Yeah. Gotta balance it out a little.
RGG Road to Glory, as of right now, are in the golden 16th spot. They do only need 1 point, or I suppose 2, to jump ahead of the 15th place team in the form of K12, who are not playing in this game, to once again to remind you all. So there's definitely a much safer possibility of them. However, if they go out early, of course, it's going to be very, very tough for them to hold on to that 16th place spot with 3 teams below them trying to get the relevant points to qualify for the first Super Weekend.
Man, I mean, it's not impossible to qualify for the finals if you don't make a Super Weekend. You just need to really rack up the points in the other Super Weekends. It's just it's when you get to the point where you're a team that missed 2 or even 3 of the, I mean, obviously if you miss 3 Super Weekends, there's no way you're qualifying, but you don't want to be like, because there's only 3 Super Weekends, but you know, if you don't qualify for 2, now you put everything on that last Super Weekend.
Yes.
And you have so many other factors that your zone lock, other teams targeting you possibly, and just, you know, like all these things that you don't want to just rely on the RNG of, you know, 1 weekend to qualify for finals.
I think it did happen in the spring split, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just have a quick look in terms of the
I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah,
nothing not impossible, but
yeah, believe it or not, they were known as Triple D, but Triple Esports, as far as I know, they qualified for the first Super Weekend with only 15 games played, in which they got 161 points in that one Super Weekend. So it is possible. It's not idealistic, though.
You know, you should have asked me to guess which team, and I probably would have said Triple Esports. Looking at how they've played the last 2 days, because this is very on brand for Triple Esports. To hey, we're gonna like not really do well, and then finally at, you know, the last minute, boom, you know, get a chicken dinner, you know, and then qualify. You just barely qualify.
Oh man, well look, Triple Esports are down on the southern side of the map. They have YALLA in front of them, and they lose a player right off the bat. That's not the start that they want. FaceU does kind of stay southwest, but it does, more importantly, kind of move away from the majority of the small island. So it is, of course, going to leave all of this circle essentially in the mainland.
Yeah. Hey, it could go down to one time. I jinxed myself, and there was a circle very similar to this, and I think I said mid-game, I said there's no way it would go to the southern island, and lo and behold, it ended in like Egos, like all the way down there. I was like, wow, I am just gonna not predict circles anymore, because obviously I was 100,000,000% wrong.
With some mines rotating from Monte Nuevo, have that hillside in between Chumisera and La Julera. They do have some of one team close by, but not the full squad around them. Just something to think about. Of course, more on the northern edge of the circle, Monica, there is that kind of low ground that is okay, but it's not kind of advisable to stick to. You kind of want to be in a more of a high ground position. I'm wondering if any team will kind of book that trend and stick to the northern low ground.
There's so many layers in Miramar, right? It's like, oh, I'm here is the high ground to look over underneath, and I think I have the high ground to have all the vantage lines, you know, sight lines down the road. But then forget that, oh, there's a even higher mountain in my backside that someone else could go over you. So it's like you're really, you know, you have the high ground of this concentrated area, but there may be, if you zoom out a little bit, it's the, you know, there's so many, and I think that's what makes Miramar really hard to play.
So you're basically saying Miramar is an onion.
Is this a Shrek reference? Is there a...
No, you said it has many layers. Onions have layers.
Which is a total Shrek... Have you seen Shrek?
Yeah, but not for years.
I think that's literally a line in the movie is where
Really?
Shrek is like, I'm like an onion with layers, and then Donkey is like, oh, so I get to peel back the layers to see like his personality.
No, I definitely had forgotten that reference. Nice one, nice one. I will certainly give you credit for remembering a Shrek reference of all references.
Oh,
I
man.
don't really know how to respond to it, so I'm just gonna continue to talk about the game, as Falcon Esports are one of those teams that stuck to the northern low ground, and Rad are kind of following suit, coming in a little bit late. 90th minute are still in the blue, by the way, along with 4K, and NIGMA Galaxy are sticking to the western side.
Enigma Galaxy, they as long as I could say as long as they don't throw, but they could literally throw and then just make it to super weekend, so it doesn't really matter for them. So this is kind of touching back to what I said before. Like if I was them, I would really be looking at like VISTA Gaming, right? Like where are they, and can we? I mean, I'm all for like a total bullying tactic. If you can reap up, you know, there's no love lost in a game like PUBG Mobile, and what you can do to benefit your own team. Circle does hardship this time onto Chumacero. Okay, this is difficult terrain, right? When I was talking about layers, this is even more layers because you have those red rocks kind of hugging the back of Chumacero all the way down to all that kind of dark terrain over there.
Yeah, definitely. This is a tricky circle shift, and I would definitely say it's tricky for the teams who are already inside the circle as it is for the teams who are outside the circle. Obviously, if you're inside, you have the advantage of maybe having more time to set up a defense, to get information. But once again, it's still not easy. 4K, like I said, one of the teams coming in a bit later to the edge of the circle are close and pretty much inside that northeastern edge, but they have the side of the only one right in front of them.
The only one. They have a nice kind of 2-2 split as they see the 4K finally just coming in just on the edge of the circle. So I think it's going to end up being kind of a drawn out fight because they're all within and they have kind of a lot of ridge length between them. So it's not quite so easy to get a knock and then everyone push because it's going to take time to get all the way there. And what RTG is doing here, Road to Glory, trying to find one way in, but it looks like going to be nipped in the bud by POWR as they're put down to only 3.
They need to change their name from Road to Glory to Road to First Super Weekend because that's the current path they're on, right? That's what they're traveling through and isn't looking good as they lose a player. I would argue they didn't need to reposition from where they were, right? They didn't need to kind of worry about moving too far because they're already inside the circle and they could focus on what was on their backs. But either way, they decided to move and they're going to get somewhat punished for it. Rad are going to make a move to try and find a position on the northern edge of the circle, but CONQUEROR are already there. So that is knocked, so is Delhap, so it's just Munir and I believe one other player across the road down on the dip that's alive for the side of Rad. Munir's at least able to trade for the time being, picking up the knock onto Rio, but Rio's gonna get dropped once again. It's a 2-piece for Munir. He's running out of time. He can't even get a first aid off. Maybe jump into the passenger seat to try and hide yourself. We saw that 9,000 IQ players. Kylo stepped up to the fold. A former player, Twisted Minds, get the knock onto Riva. Our Rad gonna pull out a miracle play and get the 2v4 onto the side of CONQUEROR. Just one player left on Caliga with the mini 14. Pushes Kato down, but not a knock, not a drop. Kato's still alive.
Yeah, just like they let the one Overwatch on the other side of the street, which is really great because now they're able to get the reset on this side. But that mini 14, he needed to get the knock there, but just missed out on that last shot. But I think that the player from Rad able just to hit the deck as quick as he could and able to avoid getting knocked. Now both of them having to fend off this potential push from RTG Royal or Road to Gaming, because I mean the circle just shifted, but they smelled the blood in the water, and they want to collect up on some of these elimination points.
They have to get involved with this third party. Eliminations are the name of the game. This is phase 4 chickens. It doesn't get any easier making it into the edge of the circle. Vault will find the knock onto one of the Rad players, looking for another as Delhap goes down to the blue zone. Caliga is the final player left up. Vault does get the confirmation onto the second Conqueror player left alive in this game. What a turnaround by Rad all the same, though. The resilience from Munir to get the two-piece and to just help his team keep this game alive is individually incredible. But Road to Glory, like you said, need to get down and dirty. Blue Zone's going to start closing in, Monica.
Yeah, this was pretty terrifying for Rad because they were all kind of clumped up 3 together in that little divot. And Volt, I think if he went out just a little bit wider, he may have been able to find the angles here. But Volt is doing a really good job of keeping Rad on the downhill slope, taking away their resources, those vehicles, and not giving them any easy way to rotate. So even though Road to Glory is losing the time to rotate, they are collecting up on these eliminations. He just find another, and it's going to be one player from Rad still up on his feet in the distance. And it's looking very dire for them now.
2 eliminations and counting, looking to pick up their third and finish the team off. That's from behind. They are running out of time. Like I said, the Blue Zone in Phase 4 is getting closer to their location. It's going to run out of time to make it into the edge of the circle. Going to make it more difficult. So the quicker you make this push, the quicker you finish off Rad, the technically easier it is or more time you have. But they're alternatively going to forget about that. Maybe it's a bit of a bait. So that is running out of heals in his own right. He only has 4 bandages. Might be able to loot up his teammate to pick up a first aid, but I say that is that one and done, and down he goes, and Road to Glory can find a position in the circle.
Yeah, they're going to be bottom of the leaderboards going out, and I think 15th position. And as that was happening, Conqueror used that time to just get the heck out of Dodge. We see the only one finding the side here with, I think that was 4K. Yeah, we saw them go out first in the match, but it was just, I mean, 4K, I would have said they were like a cat with 9 lives, but here, I guess they were on their last live because they got taken out a little bit too early by the only one.
That engagement had been going on for a while as well.
Yeah.
We move on over to the engagement between YALLA and 90th minute. 90th minute, I believe. Down to just one player, it certainly looks like. Yeah, it is just Emad on his own, and a nade goes in his direction. He has to try and pull a first aid off. A lot of smokes as well to try and at least cover a bit of vision. As Safe is going to get back up on his feet and keep YALLA up as a 3-person team. 4 eliminations and counting for YALLA. So it's been a strong, aggressive game. And if they can pick up a 5th and get a little bit of control on the southern edge of the circle, it'll allow them focus more heavily onto the side of Twisted Minds.
Twisted Minds are just kind of lingering in the distance, I think, still keeping, you know, one eye on the map and one eye on this fight. YALLA quickly putting that med kit up as they do dearly want to clean this one up. They know he's somewhere in the smokes, right? Just a dead giveaway that somebody here, some mouse in the sewer is still hiding down here at Emad. I think did they just miss him? I think they just missed him. Maybe just saw his head. And okay, there you go. Just peeked. I think why did he crawl so far out of the smoke though?
It was dissipating. It was dissipating, and he really nothing more he could really do at that moment. There's Road to Glory getting down and dirty once again. 7 elimination points and counting for Road to Glory into the top 11. That the moment that will put them on at least 45 points, and I can confidently say Road to Glory have booked their ticket, booked their spot, have gotten in to the first Super Weekend. There's still more than they can do, but so far they've done so much.
The top teams in the lobby are all out. That's NIGMA Gaming, that's Rad, that's Conquer. They've already, you know, kick the can, and this is going to open up the pathways for these kind of teams towards the bottom, like Road to Glory, like some, you know, some of the other ones down below, Vista, that need to get a couple more points to get higher. So this could be there. This is a golden opportunity, right? Versus if you had like the previous Miramar game where NIGMA Galaxy was just farming eliminations, right? 20 eliminations and taking those points away from them. This is their opportunity now to kind of level the playing field and try to get those points back.
I said OOREDOO only need around 2 to 3 points to comfortably see them into the first Super Weekend, coming into this game in a total of 40, right? They're already into the top 11. That's a minimum of 1 placement point, and they picked up 2 eliminations. That is 3, so they should be pretty good in that regard. Triple Esports down to a duo, but they do get to drop onto one of the Twisted Minds players a little bit further into the edge of the circle, and they'll make it. But when Ragnarok is covering the edge of play. It's going to be so challenging for Triple Esports. This is phase 5. That blue zone moniker is so difficult to contend with.
It's, not quite a tickle, but more like a slap in the face, the blue zone. And this time, Triple D, I mean, they need, they needed, I think 7 points or something to try to attempt to qualify. And to lose 2 players already, this is going to be putting them in that kind of passive stage, just kind of crawling, edging their way in and not being able to really take on those 4v4 team fights to rack up those points and find the good position. So they're just playing really at the mercy of the circle and of all the other teams around them. On the flip side, Vista right next to them have all 4 up. This would be the nightmare of NIGMA Galaxy if Vista were able to continue to get these points and take their, team into the Super Weekends and keep playing spoiler to them.
Also a nightmare for Triple Esports. Both of those teams were on the same points coming into this final game, and with Vista 2 bodies higher, 2 more bodies in this lobby, it's going to be much easier for them to carve their entry point into the circle. And it seems like this engagement is going to come sooner rather than later. I don't think Vista Gaming know that Triple Esports are right in front of them. No, they have no idea. Clever steps up, looks for a clever knock, but is only going to be able to take Trofka down to about a 1/3 health, instantly returning with a nade. He needs to make this one count. 75 health. The first aid comes up. It's going to push Trofka back, kind of put him into a position where he can get the knock, possibly. But again, Vista Gaming now should have the numbers behind them to scale back. Trofka is able to go back down the hill. Clever does not overstep his mark.
I think that was good for Vista to kind of come down the mountainside. Knew there was one here. He doesn't want to take the solo fight where the rest of his team doesn't have any sort of supporting angle onto them. Now they've come up. Now they have the confidence to try to push up onto here and maybe clear out, because all those layers, you do not want to have a team higher up than you. And Triple Esports is going to stay on back, as now Vista is taking a ton of shots from OT, OOREDOO Thunders. As the prey becomes the predator and the predator becomes the prey in the situation. It just keeps flipping on back and forth.
There you go. Nice one by Sunrise. Gets a drop. Osama is one of 2 players left up, I believe, with Smoker, if I'm not mistaken. Dino wraps around the corner, is going to get dropped by Hamco. Nice push by OOREDOO Thunders, or defense, should I say, and it's just all hell is breaking loose, and this is great for Triple Esports, because all they need to do, Monica, is just stand back and watch the madness unfold around them as Hamco is going to shut Vista Gaming down and probably push them out of the first Super Weekend. Evo Station is the only player left alive, and that's exactly what Triple Esports want to see. OOREDOO Thunder in their own right, not looking too hot and heavy, but it should be able to get back up as a full squad.
I know this was handed to Triple Esports, but they were feeling a little bit of pressure, thinking that Vista would push up onto them, but it was OOREDOO Thunder to really bring them on down, but they're going to change their sights onto them as well. The only one now taken out of the lobby, only 8 teams left alive. Triple Esports needs to play on a lot of defense here. They have the circle, they can play a little quiet here, but hope that OOREDOO Thunder doesn't come any closer.
Oh, what a spray from the player of OOREDOO Thunder. But as the circle encapsulates and closes in, teams all around them are going to get closer together. You can see every single one of the remaining 8 teams were on the edge of the phase 6 circle. YALLA go down. It shifts down south. It's in the favor of Triple Esports. But unless they can get themselves up as a duo, it's not looking too good, because OOREDOO Thunder are on a tear, and they're going to look to add the lightning on top of the but the last player of Vista Gaming gets the knock, lays a trap, and sends them swinging down. OOREDOO Thunder are whittled down to a trio, and once again, Triple Esports are given a chance to survive as Vista Gaming go down.
I think Triple Esports is the new 4K, just such high survivability, just staying up on top, allowing the other teams to kind of focus up onto each other. Is now Clever focusing on to one of the players of OOREDOO Thunders, almost got the knock, and I think he just was able to get it out. So now OOREDOO Thunder went from 4 down to 2. What a fall from grace.
And more important, teams have crumbled down. We're suddenly left with our top 5.
Yeah.
This is a hell of a decent amount of placement points alone for Triple Esports. Never mind the fact that they have gotten themselves a few elimination points across the board as Humam makes it in from NASR, but it's going to get instantly turned upon.
Falcons, another team that really needs the points here, but NASR is taken out now. And now out in 5th position, so 4 teams left alive. Falcons just eating the blue zone right now. You can see how much damage it is, and suddenly it's only Yusuf left alive, trying to hang on dearly as Clever pushing up with his teammate onto OOREDOO Thunders.
He goes in for the 1v2, but can't come on board. You need to make that double trouble count as much as possible. I get that YWZ3 was on his own and in the open, but my God, you got to try and make that push. Triple Esports, we are 4 teams left. That's a minimum of 88 placing points as Falcons go down in that all-elusive 4th place. Coming into this game in 20th spot. Will that be enough points to make it into the first Super Weekend? It remains to be seen as Triple go down and we're left with our final 2 teams.
Twisted Minds, one just got revived and does get knocked. Now it's going to be OOREDOO Thunder, the 2 as a duo trying to pull them out. They know they have them cornered here somewhere in the grass, using that third person perspective to peek on over, trying to find this one out, but Twisted Minds just not quite enough. And the winner chicken dinner does go to OOREDOO Thunder.
OOREDOO Thunders, man, like, they were a little bit unlucky. They were pretty solidly opportunistic onto VISTA Gaming, but then they just couldn't finish them off. The final player of VISTA Gaming laid a perfect trap and picked one up. And if it wasn't, luckily, like, NASR didn't really push aggressively earlier again, because when you had so many teams around the edge of the circle, teams were maybe afraid to push in that regard. And then they were left as a duo. Luckily, they got rid of Triple Esports in the right way. They only needed a couple of points, but as we look at the match rankings, they got themselves a chicken dinner.
I didn't that much from them, and so then they come out and just very, I don't know, it's 27 points with 12 eliminations. I mean, we always see that the teams that win, we rarely see a, hey, first place and then sub 5 eliminations. It's always the teams that played aggressively, went for those eliminations, were also the ones that put themselves in the positions to also win out those matches. 27 points. Twisted Minds, though, that is a lot of points for them, but it's going to be Triple Esports at 15 points. Was that enough to make it into this weekend, Super Weekend?
Man, it's going to be close. Falcons in their own right picked up 9 points, by the way. I'm not going to speculate in terms of where that puts them, and I'm not going to do any calculation, but the point is, that was a decent amount of points. I just don't know if it's enough. Road to Glory in their own right, they were coming into this game on 16th spot. Right, they found 9 points. That sees them absolutely all good in the hood for the first Super Weekend. That I can guarantee.
So let's take a look at the second half from this match. We have Vista getting 5 points, the only one getting 5 as well. A little shocked at Conqueror because all we did was hype them up today, right? And to come out with 1 point. But they are well up in that top 3 positioning. So I think it's all right for them. But yeah, we had a lot of our top teams going out early, which kind of opened up the gates for teams like OOREDOO Thunders, like Twisted Minds, etc., to kind of get a lot of points out of that Miramar match.
Man, it's pretty wild. It's so wild.
Yeah.
In the spring split, Triple Esports, then known as Triple D, didn't make it into the first Super Weekend. They didn't make it by a grand total of 4 points. Will it be the same this time around, or will they have broken that mold and have qualified for the first Super Weekend in the full split?
Yeah, we will certainly see, but it's always kind of, it never feels good to see a team as, by 1, 2, 3, 4 points, because then all they're thinking that entire weekend that they're not playing is, man, if we did this differently here, there's one thing differently, or if we had pushed here instead, or whatever, like just critically hyper thinking about every single choice that they made. But I mean, a lot of teams that they don't make the Super Weekend, they still have a lot of chances if they can make the next one. But let's see the overall here. So this first half are the ones that are for sure in the Super Weekend. They didn't really have to sweat anything, and it's NIGMA Galaxy finishing out with 100 points.
Like I said, the blueprint of the MENA region as a whole finishes the first league play in first place with 2 chicken dinners, the only team to get 2 chicken dinners. One thing that I do want to kind of highlight is the side of GEEKAY Esports. Definitely a positive improvement from day one between the balance of elimination points and placement points. I still would like to see that more balanced in around the 50-50 mark. However, I still want to compliment them on an improvement from yesterday's distribution to today's distribution.
Yeah, just great stuff from them. OOREDOO Thunders with that last chicken dinner really securing themselves up in that top 8 positioning too. So all these teams, we'll see them in Super Weekend. Let's go ahead and see the second page out of the 3 pages. But this is going to be the 9th through 16th. So Triple Esports was indeed able to qualify into the first Super Weekend after spending all of day 1 with only, what, 9 points is what they finished out with?
Yeah.
Wow.
9 points. So they got 39 points in 4 games today. That's nearly 10 points per game, just under 10 points per game for Triple Esports. What a turnaround, and genuinely a lot of respect to them for that. Was it the prettiest way for them to make it in? Was it the most confident way for them to make it in? No, they still have, let's be fair, they have a lot of improvement to do, just like I would arguably say the bottom 6 per se, right? But in terms of digging your heels in and getting the results needed and going from where they were to where they finished, that deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, and a lot of credit goes to 4K. They just barely made it in, but I mean, just time and time again, just surviving when I thought they couldn't do it, right? So this will be the top 16 going into this weekend, Super Weekend. You'll see this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Let's see the teams that did not, unfortunately, qualify. Maybe Team Falcons, Curd 12, SKYROCKETs, and VISTA Gaming. So, I mean, NIGMA Galaxy happy to see VISTA Gaming all the way down here, but it's some of the teams, like I think we were low-key rooting for Curd 12. We saw some great stuff from them, but they just weren't quite able to make it.
No, they not only left it too late, but again, the fact that they didn't have that last game to in any way make a difference, of course, massively helped it. The big surprise for me is Team Falcons not making it into the first Super Weekend. I know it was only by 5 points, but yeah, that's a big surprise for me. And one observation between the first league week of the spring split and the first league week of the fall split, the cutoff point is kind of noticeably higher. When I kind of gave that 35 to 45 cutoff point, I really wasn't expecting to be on the highest point of it. So genuinely credit to all the teams, because it seems like the standard is pretty damn high across the board. So yeah, well done for that kind of cutoff point being raised.
Well, if you want to dress like a pro and be like the pros, check out in-game the Grizzly Bear card collection. This is totally new in-game, comes out June 23rd in a couple days up into July 6th. So this is going to be join the card collection draw and win outfits as a chance to actually get all the pieces of an item in one go. So check that out. Definitely super cool outfit. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of the pros wearing it coming soon.
Yeah, definitely, of course. Look good, slay good, perform in game and look good in game at the same time. Top 16 teams, we've seen them book their spot into the first Super Weekend. Now it's where they need to step up, right? Take the days break, Monica. You know, get a lot of practice in, put your scrims in, do your VOD review, whatever it takes to prepare for the first Super Weekend.
Yeah, for Super Weekend, we're going to see, I think, an even higher level of seriousness. I think there's a lot of teams here who, hey, we qualified, and then after that, it's like, we're going to take it kind of easy. You know, it doesn't really matter. But I think here it's going to be seriousness, level 100, every single match, because every single point counts here. And they really, I mean, they're not only playing for qualifying for the finals, but there is prize pool involved in it. So you definitely want to play as well as you can in the Super Weekends.
There's 15 grand available, right? 1 per chicken dinner. So if you're able to grab yourself 2 to 3, maybe even 4 Damn, that'd look pretty good, not only for your bank account, but of course for your confidence leading into the second league week.
Yep, definitely. Well, let's go ahead and head to the recap. Just kind of recap today. Imperium, I guess we will see everybody tomorrow though. Is it tomorrow or the
tomorrow?
next day? Tuesday.
Oh,
Two days from now. It's like 2 days.
Thursday.
He was like 1 day away, and I was like, I'm ready for the action, Imperium. I was like, let's go. Let's move it up a day. But we'll see you in 2 days, this Thursday, same time, same place, to bring you the first day of Super Weekend.
When you get back up when you fall, you better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up.
Trending with the cool kids. I wear it if the shoe fits, yeah. Designer brand exclusive. I wear it once and lose it for the next best thing. One quick slip and then I'm out of frame. No one really seems to care though. Got an ego, can't explain. No. Icy boy with diamonds on my frozen soul.